What is going on, guys? It is episode 370 of Pop Culture Crisis, not 369 anymore. Nice, huh? Right? That was from yesterday. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I see we have Bertman in the chat. The Burtoning continues. I love it.
He was very excited today.
Was he?
Oh, yeah. Like when we posted about our guest today.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Special guest on the show.
Hi,
we were
everyone.
just teasing this yesterday. Very special
Oh,
guest.
yeah? Oh, okay. I feel pretty cool. My name is Gothix. Thank you for inviting me. Glad
Thanks
to
for
be here.
being here.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Travel was good. Got
Travel
here
was
everything?
good. Very nice. Short trip.
Wait, did you have were there like crazy? We had the conversation yesterday. We watched a video about a lady who saran wrapped herself into an airplane.
She bought 3 seats and saran wrapped herself completely.
For like Covivi protection?
Yes.
Or, okay.
In her mind, in her deranged mind.
For
yeah.
first, super first class, like
Okay.
saran first class, like I'm gonna do that. So, like last night I went to see the Fast and the Furious, and because nobody else could come with us, we had
such a sad story.
He's upset.
We had multiple tickets, so it's like I had
you
like,
and 5 empty seats.
It was not like, luckily, okay, there were like, we bought 5 tickets, but only I went. But luckily, like, somebody decided to not listen and sit in like seat 4.
Okay.
So I didn't look like I was just super lonely. I was just, there was like 2 seats dividing me and that guy, which is just decorum. In a way, like, because it was like the whole theater wasn't full, but it's just like if there had been 5 seats between me and a bunch of other people, I would have just felt like such a leper. Like it would have been horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like so I
Unfortunately, I was busy last night because
Yeah.
I'm dealing with moving. So I was like, oh no, I can't make it to Fast and Furious.
That doesn't sound sincere. I'm just saying.
I'm so sorry.
She's like, I can't make it to the 10th Fast and the Furious when I haven't seen the other 9. What am I going to do? Guys, before we get started, I could have done that for the poll today. I put up a review for Fast and the Furious 10. You should go watch the review, but you should watch it after you go see it because the movie frickin' rules, as I knew it would. Easily the best one since Fast 7. It's less self-referential, or should I say that the self-referential humor is more adequately done and doesn't take you out of the story as much. Plus, you get a weird type of flamboyant Jason Momoa type of Joker supervillain. If that's not going to hook you, I don't know what is. He uses the term butthole. Like I said, that's a term that I haven't heard since I was in the 6th grade, and he uses it because he has this really, really funny persona that he uses in this film. I recommend everyone go see it. It is on the long side, but the pace is quite fast for the film.
You know,
I think everyone should go check it.
Fast X.
When I was doing the editing for the review, I said like the pace was fast, and like I'm like, why didn't I make a joke about it? I'm bad at this. I'm bad at this. I could have made that joke, but I didn't do it. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We are going to talk about the fact that Dove Soap wants to bring back Gamergate. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They want Gamergate 2 Electric Boogaloo right now.
Hasn't Gamergate 2.0 already kind of happened? I vaguely remember there was a resurgence.
We're on like Gamergate 3 now.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
sort of like which wave of feminism are we on? We've lost track.
Which
Is it
wave
fourth,
of feminism?
fifth?
Are we in 4th
I
wave?
have no idea. It's all stupid.
We're in 4th wave. It's technically 4th wave feminism, right?
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, you guys are the one you're supposed to know. I don't know. I'm the guy. I'm not supposed to know this stuff.
We're in the wave of feminism where the women become men.
Yeah. See,
So, I forgot what number
Full
that is.
circle.
Yeah.
patriarchy.
We're back to misogyny. It's just a horseshoe theory. Yeah.
Patriarchy reasserts itself all the time. We got, Priyanka Chopra is also talking about how she is the alpha in her relationship, which I feel like I think she said like he lets me be the alpha in the relationship, which doesn't sound very alpha to me. But we'll
It
get
wasn't
into
quite
that.
like that, but yeah, we'll get into it.
We'll talk about it. I'm happy to talk about Priyanka Chopra anytime because I get to look at pictures of her, and it is what it is. We're also going to talk about Grimes, talking about tech industry, beauty standards, and that includes Julia Fox. You know that it's a day that ends in Y here because we're going to have to talk about Julia Fox, in which case somebody in the chat will right now be saying, who is Julia
she?
Fox?
Who is this woman?
And
She was
then-
in Uncut Gems,
Yes.
guys.
She
was Josh Safdie's muse in Uncut Gems.
She should make a sequel called Uncut Jams, and it should be about music rather than diamonds. That would be cool. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, or release an album.
Yes. Is she not a singer?
No.
She's not a singer?
No.
Like, does it feel like a lot of people in these industries end up like moving over and then
She's
they
just
do
famous
music
for
too?
being famous.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, it's like the Kardashians, right?
Yeah.
They're famous for being businesswomen, but what does that mean?
And for other things.
Yes.
But.
See, but the thing is, I
Yeah.
think a lot of young kids don't even know, like, probably won't even know about that. Like, a lot of kids that are younger than us are going to be like, she's just
They're
the
like,
lady
who
from the
is Ray J?
Kardashians.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
be like,
Oh, no.
who's Ray J?
Did we ever cover, like, he, like, had some comment about, like...
He was in a dispute about the
Yeah.
sex tape with Kanye. I think there was this whole like plot line in the Kardashians
like someone
where,
released it
yeah,
intentionally?
Kanye like went to meet up with him and recover all like copies of the tape and brought them, physically delivered them to Kris Jenner.
That's so weird.
Even though that was a whole plot devised by Kris Jenner herself.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. Like, a lot of people don't realize how insidious that part of it is, that her own mom is basically the one that made her famous that way.
Yeah, they plotted that together. It's kind of sick because they pretended that it was against Kim's wishes.
Oh, and Decoy Voice is in the chat today. Says Uncut Gems was like Anxiety the movie. It was. As somebody who is a fairly neurotic person, I was watching that movie, and when I got done, I like needed to go for a walk because it was just it's an expertly paced movie if you want to
Okay.
watch something that's unbelievably nerve-wracking to watch the whole way through. So we got that to discuss. We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your documentary that's coming up. We got a lot of stuff to get into. So if you guys are ready, we will just get right into the start of the show. Mary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Gothix. All right, let's do this. All right, so originally I was going to pitch Fast 10 for people to check out, but I kind of already did that. I got so excited I couldn't even wait. But it does have a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, and as we know, critics are the only people in the world less believable than journalists these days. So take of that what you will.
Okay, but look, you always say franchises exist and continue to live on as corpses, basically, of what used to be important to the culture because they make money, and they will keep making Fast and Furious movies until the money dries up, which I get. But think of this, like, who is more of an artist or who has more artistic merit, Drake or Kanye?
I say Kanye just because
Yeah, it's Kanye, right? But
Drake might win just because of all.
But
the
who is
memes.
more marketable? It's Drake.
Yeah.
So I don't think that just because something makes money, it's better.
You're not at all wrong about that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't think the quality is better just because it appeals to more people.
But that's the thing. That depends on whether it's being what it wants to be. And in this case, this movie is not pretentious in trying to be something that it's not. It's an unapologetic summer blockbuster that's designed to be stupid and give you 2.5 hours away from all of your cares in the world. Like, there's a reason you go to a movie where physics don't actually make any sense, and people say things and things that happen that don't.
Someone reposted the scene from, I don't even know which Fast and Furious this was, but it's like they go across the, they like drive.
One building to the next?
Not buildings. It was like a ravine of some kind. Like this bridge collapsed.
Yeah.
And they just flew in the car. They just flew.
In this one, he knocks a car over by running into a crane that he perfectly times and like knows somehow that the crane as it comes around this way is going to hit this car head on, which he could never possibly know. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece, and everyone should go watch it.
I still haven't seen any of them.
You should
feel
see
left
them.
out.
You should.
Do I
see
have
them.
to see it in order?
Like I said, turn your brain off. You don't
Okay,
need to. Like,
doesn't matter.
there's a lot. I mean, there's stuff that would mean more to you if you watch all of them. Like, one of the things I actually pointed out about it was that a lot of the self-referential humor is done better in things like this than a lot of other franchises where you have to know what they're talking about for the wink and the nod.
Yeah.
In this one, there's a couple of winks and nods that will mean something to you if you've seen the previous films, but if you haven't, it won't matter. Like,
Okay.
it's not going to make it any less enjoyable. And like I said, you shouldn't be going to these movies to look for this is not Citizen Kane with cars, nor should it be. In fact, I'm insulted by anybody who says that it's basically the Avengers with cars. It's Car Avengers. That's what they said in Honest
It's
Trailers.
not my thing.
Yeah, well-
not most women's thing. But OGs on the channel will know, episode 200, we got a wager on one of the guests on the show, Hannah Claire, to watch all of the Fast and Furious movies. And I don't think that she's gotten through the series yet.
No, I think she tapped out, or like, not everyone's got my stamina when it
Yeah.
comes to...
They met like 10 crisis parties, was it, to
Yeah.
do that? She said if we get 10 crisis parties, she will watch all of them.
Wow.
She may still. She may still.
She may still do it.
All right, guys, before we get started as well, remember, like this video, subscribe to this channel. If you have not done so already, we have passed 60,000 subscribers, so thank you very much for that. Remember, all Super Chats $20 and over. We will stop the discussion, read the Super Chat right then and there, and then I will do my best to use my foggy brain to get right back on discussion. I've done better with that this week than I have in previous weeks. Yeah, some weeks I'm just like, what were we saying like 2.5 minutes ago? Like, it's bad. I need to do some exercises or something. All right, I got a couple of other announcements here. So Disney Plus is removing a bunch of crap from their streaming services. We were talking about this off air before we even got started today. Believe it or not, if you wanted to watch that Willow series, you're gonna have to go now.
I remember the announcement that it was being made like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was just a flash in the pan.
You said you liked Guardians.
Yeah, I did. It was really good.
Are there any other? Is there anything from Disney coming out lately besides Guardians that you actually find enjoyable? Are you excited for the Little Mermaid?
Is it a serious question? No. No.
Are you gonna watch it?
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. I saw a clip.
You should watch it and review it.
I saw maybe. You
should do
if I do a watch party.
You did the thing where you reviewed like Yuri Bezmenov's like speech.
Yeah,
if you can review that, you can review. If you can watch that, you can watch The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I think it's out of principle where I'm just like, no, the Little Mermaid I knew was white, and this is not white mermaid.
White.
So,
I think you should watch and review it, and then like be like, from my perspective, it won't matter because you're not a mermaid. So like you could do that, and then the funny thing about it is Halle Bailey is like I always point out, I'm like, she can sing really well.
Yeah.
And she's a very pretty girl, but it's just...
She seems very sweet, like a very Disney princess-like person in real life. So I understand why she got the role. She's talented and all that, but she's a total pawn.
I just feel really bad for people like her and anyone who maybe dreams about being in a Disney film. It's like they don't realize that they're going to be used as pawns.
Yeah.
And most people like me aren't going to be able to look past that. We just see the pawn. We don't see the actress wanting to be a Disney princess.
Every interview is just like baiting her into talking about race.
Black.
I wonder if it'll be a type of thing where like now we see Hollywood come to their reckoning with the way they behaved 20 years ago, and a lot of actresses and actors come out and talk about how the studios or how certain directors acted. I wonder if there will be their own like mini reckoning where 20 years from now Halle Bailey would be like, they set me up for abuse from fans by making me a pawn in their game. It'll just take a couple of decades.
It'll be its own Me Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would that be called? They have to have its own name. Like it's like
we already had Mean Too, where people were just Me Too'd for being mean.
I'm shocked that
Joss
didn't catch on.
Joss Whedon got mean too.
Yeah. Well, he made Buffy, so he gets a pass. He can
Get
yell at
exposed
all
for
the
being a
people he
jerk.
wants, as long he made Buffy, he made Angel. So what if he made Michelle Trachtenberg cry a little bit? That's I'm kidding.
It's the price of art.
Apparently, well, yeah. They said like Michelle Trachtenberg, she's an actress. She wasn't like allowed to be alone in a room with him, and like the problem is like the companies that report that know what your implication is when you say that, right? But that's not what it was. It was just like, he's mean, he yells a lot.
He's going to verbally abuse
and
anyone.
she comes out crying, but everyone knows what they mean when they say, this old guy's not allowed in a room with a teenage girl. So, is there anything else that you've seen lately that you are enjoying? If not Guardians, if Guardians,
Are
then
you
what else?
subscribed to Disney Plus?
No, I unsubscribed a long time ago. Yeah. I'm not even subscribed to any streaming service, I think.
Oh, Hannah Claire would love that.
Go off.
Her take that men are the ones
running
who love streaming
theory
services.
that women get streaming service logins from the men in their lives.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Yeah.
There's an amazing meme that this guy made where he I guess his girlfriend broke up with him, and he made an account on her Netflix and labeled it settings.
Oh, I saw that.
So that he could always have it, and he would never be off her account.
Yeah.
So he's got his own-
Bleaching forever.
That's a good
great.
idea.
I like that.
That's so good it might not even be real. He might have just made that up and thought it was clever. Like I don't know. I don't know about that. So they're getting rid of a bunch of this stuff. They're getting rid of Willow. They're getting rid of the Mighty Ducks television show. They're getting rid of Why the Last Man, which literally nobody watched. It's not shocking because in other news, Disney has closed down or is closing down the Galactic Star Cruiser, so you won't be able to spend $5,000 a night on a Star Wars themed hotel stay.
Yeah.
I've never watched Star Wars, Okay, but
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
gonna watch
No.
them. But if they had hired me, I would have told them that this was a bad idea to make this in the first place.
Is there anything like, I mean, Star Wars is
who is the clientele? You know,
well,
'Cause
Disney
it's
wants to
certainly
price
not-
out people that are like actual human beings.
There are
Right.
Star Wars themed cruises they do with cocktails that cost as much as a night at this hotel.
Yeah.
Literally. So who is the clientele?
I don't know.
Especially as our economy is getting worse.
My thought was like maybe they made this to sort of like recuperate some of their costs going into the woke stuff. Maybe they thought they would have dedicated Star Wars fans, but most people that like Star Wars, I would assume, would not be dropping this amount of money.
Well, I don't know who actually has that much money to like the people that are making that much money have work to go do, right?
Right?
Like that dude's got a job, like, or if it is a family, it's a dad who's on his phone the whole time because he's some type of investment banker.
Yeah.
And that's the classic story of the kid who just wants to spend the day with his dad, and his dad's like, "Sure, Johnny," and he's sitting there day trading while his kid's like posing with Darth Vader.
Yeah, we were reacting to TikToks where people show all of their expenses for being at Disney for a day, and it can be like $10,000 in a day if you try to go on a few rides.
Who's got that
buy
much
some
money?
merch, buy some food. The food, it's like $300 just for dinner, basically.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, for how many people?
It was like a mom and her 2 kids.
Oh, okay.
$10,000.
Crazy.
I still won't buy beef jerky because it's too expensive.
It's a lot of money.
It's
They have like $25 popcorn stands.
like
Stupid.
The day I can afford beef jerky without feeling like I'm breaking the bank will be the day I know that I've made it in the world.
What I was saying before the show is that anyone who goes to a $5,000 a night Star Wars themed hotel is spiritually vulgar.
That's her take, not mine. Do what you want.
Because there are luxury hotels all over the world that are less expensive than that you could go there and like actually be in a real culture and like take in like real art instead of just like, I don't know, being a slave to a mega corporation. I'd rather you like stay in a hostel in Italy than do this.
And
This
there's
isn't a real vacation.
Is it like the people that just don't know where else to go? Like, I don't know. There's no other
There are
cultures
people
I
who
want
travel
to
from
explore.
other countries
Yeah.
to go to Disney.
Well, that makes sense.
That's crazy. Because there's like a Disney in Paris at
That is
least,
true.
right?
Yeah.
But they come all the way to Florida.
But it's not the main one, right?
Florida
is the biggest
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And they just actually, I had that pulled up as well, oddly enough. They had, they just nixed plans for a $1 billion complex there due to the ongoing dispute with Ron DeSantis.
They don't know if a prison is about to be opened.
I've seen
the park.
I've seen some hilarious like stuff come out of this, like people because they can't meme and they try to meme on DeSantis and they're just really bad at it. Like
Yeah.
they just don't really know what they're doing. So it is what it is. I'm like Disney's one of those things where I will go see the movies if I have to. It's like all the Disney stuff that I loved was from when I was a kid. And the only reason to have Disney Plus is to watch old stuff. Like the only
was
reason I want
sold
to
on
watch it is to
nostalgia.
yeah. So,
Right.
and we're in the streaming bubble is now burst because people are now back out living in the real world again, and they're not outside of the ladies who are saran wrapping themselves into airplanes to keep people
To get
away
to their
from.
Star Wars hotel in Florida.
Yeah, did you see this thing about Rachel Bilson, who lost a job over comments she made about
Her sex life.
about her sex life, which in the culture we live in today doesn't feel like all that big of a deal to me. Just saying, like people make comments like this all the time. It just feels like they.
I
pick
respect
and
that
choose.
some people still care about decency.
But then it's about who, like, why is it enforced against this person but not enforced against other people, right?
What exactly was she saying?
She said that she would like to be manhandled during sex. She's on a
You just-
podcast.
And people are upset about this?
Yeah.
I think it's up to the people working with her whether they want her
Like, was
to
she
be
on a-
representing what their product is, you know?
Well, like she says, a single mom, a woman lost a job because they were being candid and honest, and the subject was sex, Bilson continued. First of all, I said it in a joking manner in the interview. Well, we all know that context doesn't matter in today's society. Nobody cares about context because everything you see nowadays is being shown to you through text. So people don't get the context anyways, because if they don't get to actually see a video of it, and even then, a lot of times it will just be ignored. So yeah.
Well, I know I'm the Puritan here, but I just think that stuff should be kept for your privacy. You know, you don't need to constantly talk about sex and be vulgar like that.
But it doesn't feel like we get more of that than ever in our culture
We do.
these
Yeah,
days,
I
while
mean-
also being weirdly puritanical.
I mean, you get celebrated for stuff like that, so it's like, I don't know. It feels like the Overton window over like a generation just keeps shifting to more perverseness.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's talk about this out in the open, but why would you want to share that anyway unless you're getting some type of praise for it?
But at the same time, we're going to talk about unrealistic beauty standards and what they need to dress up video game characters like. So it's a weird thing where we're both. I was trying to make this point yesterday, and I did it badly. That we are simultaneously both more vulgar but more puritanical than we've ever been, and it's a very weird.
Rachel
world to be in.
Bilson needs to come out as gay, and then all of this will be water under the bridge.
Exactly. We got a $20 one right there from the last
Of My Kind said, the Star Wars themed hotel, brilliant. People still go to, what is this?
Is that like texting?
Tunisia?
Oh yeah. Okay.
To
yeah.
visit the OG Tatooine set. But when the cost they charged was where they lost their minds, I know people who had Star Wars themed weddings for less than Disney.
Well, this is the concept
Wars
they
themed
have.
weddings.
If there is a franchise that has a dedicated enough fan base, it's
that.
Star
Remember
Wars.
Eric Butts?
Yes, I do.
Do you know about this
Who's
guy?
Eric Butts?
I will not hate on the guy. Go ahead, Mary.
He is a YouTuber who is just absolutely obsessed with everything Disney Marvel and Disney Star Wars.
I think Star Wars in general.
And is notorious for making YouTube videos where he reacts to the trailers for all these new movies and shows, and he cries every single time.
I
Just
don't know about
absolutely
that.
bawls his eyes out. No, he cries. Like,
I know
straight up.
he cried during the Force
No,
Awakens
I
trailer.
looked through his channel. He does this every time. He's like hyperventilating, crying.
So it's not an act.
I don't think it is an act. And I saw like his wedding invitations because he's like getting married to another person who's crazy about Star Wars, and he had a Star Wars themed wedding.
Yeah.
I just don't think that that's.
You're not going to have a Star Wars themed wedding someday, Mary?
No, I'm not.
No?
I don't think that you should make
Themed weddings?
I don't think you should like cheapen something like that into just an aesthetic and consumerist experience.
No, I don't even know what you would have as a, like, there's no
How about no
Twilight
themes?
Twilight themed
How about
wedding.
no franchises?
You're
involved
the
in weddings at all?
You're the Edward to my Bella is what,
Oh,
is what
no.
they'll say to you, and or you're the Bella to my Edward. They'll say to you, and you'll say, "Oh my gosh," and then you will have your romantic wedding with.
It's no.
I was trying to think of like
No.
franchise. She loves Twilight,
I like
right?
Twilight.
So
Do you?
Yeah.
I've lost respect. I'm sorry.
But the thing is, like, I didn't grow up in the generation that had that like marketed to them because I was a little too young for it at the time, and I watched all of it for the first time in 2018 when it's already been like not in the zeitgeist for a very long time.
Yep.
Then I came to appreciate it.
I was baited to go watch it like when it was at its hype, and my friend was like, "Hey, there's this new vampire movie that came out." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, vampires! I love vampires!" I'm like, "Why are they sparkling?" I went in blind. I was so upset.
Not exactly the same thing as Bram Stoker.
No.
Not really at all. Dracula 2000. Everyone should go watch Dracula 2000. All right, or Queen of the Damned if you like Aaliyah.
Yeah,
Aaliyah.
I like that one.
Or Buffy.
Or Buffy. I
Buffy.
mean, even that's not really traditional.
It's like corny, but I like it.
yes, but Aaliyah, I still maintain that Aaliyah would be Beyonce if she had not passed. Like there would be no Beyonce if
Really?
Aaliyah had not
I
passed
don't know
away.
if she'd be Beyonce.
I believe she would be. I don't believe that Beyonce
Maybe,
would have reached the levels of fame she had if Aaliyah had lived. I do. I believe that. She's definitely better than Kelly Rowland. I know that.
It's an unfalsifiable claim you're making.
Exactly. Nobody can prove me wrong. So, all right, let's talk about the viral TikTok trend because this is something, guys. This is something that will never take place in America
No.
if you're smart. It's literally
No.
the F around and find out challenge. Viral TikTok of teens walking into a random house sparks debate. It should spark you running the other way.
Literally just knocked on the door. Or no, I don't even think they knocked. They just,
they just
opened
went
the
in.
door
Walk
and just
in.
walked in.
And the guy's face is just like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And in America, that's
Yeah.
not what happens. In America, there's a very different outcome to this.
In the UK
And it's not a good one.
In the UK, people can get prosecuted for defending themselves in their own homes.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So
I mean,
that's-
that happened in America too, depending on the state you live in,
Yeah.
and how's like if you ever watch like a lot of the people who talk about self-defense and what the rules and the legislation are around like castle doctrine and stuff like that, it's still dicey. Like there's a lot of stuff you can watch where you can make a lot of very easy mistakes and then be prosecuted by zealous prosecutors and stuff like that. So yeah, they just walk into this guy's house, and I really do think in a lot of ways that TikTok is melting society's brain.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you think this is a symptom of just boredom, or is just this like TikTok clout where it motivates people to do crap like this?
I think it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah.
I think I would say, like, if my less cynical side would say it's causing people to be more creative in the things that they in their video making.
That's one word for it.
Maybe not this, but in general, I feel like it's allowed more individualist creators to come out and make things on their own. Maybe not TikTok, but social media in general. I have a soft spot for Instagram comedy and for people who do things like that. I think
this
a lot of
is not
people.
that.
No, this is not that. But these are the type of things where eventually the desire to become famous will lead to tragic things happening. And we've seen this before.
Well, you know what the thing is I think we've sort of cheapened what it means to be creative or you know, so it's like people are just doing dumb things because they don't have any talent. There's nothing to contribute to social media, so they just walk into someone's random house.
His talent was thinking of the idea. What could we do today?
Another video I saw from the UK is this guy who started recording a woman. He was like walking behind her in a dark alley, literally, and started like actually running after her, chasing her and growling and screaming that like, I'm gonna get you. And
that's messed up.
Goes straight to her front door. She's screaming because she thinks she's about to get murdered. And then he stops and he's like, black people aren't scary. Why are you acting so scared? You're racist or whatever. And he just walks away.
Yeah.
Like, you're a psychopath.
Wow. That's where clout.
And only in the UK, once again.
Yeah, you're not doing that in America because you're something bad.
There's a lot of effing around, and there's not enough finding out these days.
Yeah. Do you think that these type of things will just escalate and get worse, or do you think eventually it'll level out?
Oh, it will totally get worse.
What do you think's next? Walk into a police station and
I don't even know.
People are already filming their own arrests.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I saw it was like a few years ago. This wasn't even at the height of TikTok. I saw some teenage girl got into some accident and she was live streaming the fact that like her passenger died, and I'm like, this is your clout right here. And there was like no emotion.
The phones have melted people's brains in a lot of ways, and they've helped people disassociate from those around them to the point where a lot of people, if not psychopathy or sociopathy, you're just kind of dead inside in a lot of ways, and it forces you to, or we watched the video recently about the lady who was being recorded where like she got into like a DUI, like she killed somebody in like a DUI.
I saw that.
And then they're like they told her, and she's like, well, I got to go to work tomorrow. And they're like, no, you're going to jail because somebody died. Like, that's the world we're living these days. And I do think it's fair to point out that we get inundated with the worst examples, like the worst of the worst. So it's a lot easier to fall into the trap of thinking that things are even worse than they are, because the worst and most over-the-top examples are going to be the ones that gain the most traction, which will in turn become the things that are easiest to focus on, not realizing that there's tons of other stuff out there that's not necessarily that egregious.
I don't know. I feel like it might actually be that bad.
Think so?
Like, we were even talking about this guy who's a YouTuber not too far away from us in like the DC area, and he has a prank channel where he just kind of commits crimes and calls it a prank. Like,
it's just a prank, bro.
Or like one of them was like stealing someone's groceries prank, or like they fake stick ups at different like businesses. Like, that's literally a crime, and you're also threatening people's lives and their children's lives.
Yeah.
And eventually, during one of his prank videos, someone shot him at a mall.
Is he dead?
He didn't die.
Okay.
And he ended up in the hospital, and from his hospital bed, he's saying he's not going to stop making videos.
Idiot.
Yeah.
He was very excited about it. He's like,
he effed around, he found out, and then he just denied reality.
Wow.
To be fair, you know, I can approve the guy's gumption.
His tenacity is incredible.
His desire to annoy other people is so strong that even a bullet is not going to stop him from doing that. Like, I got
Men
a certain
used to
amount
go
of
to
respect.
war, damn it.
Yeah, well, when there's no war to go to anymore, you go to a mall and you
Simulate
pretend
danger.
to rob someone.
Yeah.
Like, imagine somebody comes into your house and it's just like, dude, it was just a prank, bro.
No.
What? And we talk about this a lot these days, where it's like, why are you so mad? Why do you care so much?
Yeah.
Like, you come into someone's house and like, get out of here. Like, dude, why do you care so much?
Literally.
Why are you in my house? What's your problem, dude? Like,
You could gaslight someone into thinking it wasn't their house anymore.
That probably wouldn't even be too hard.
No.
All that much. So I don't know. Like the TikTok stuff, like I have to like separate myself from it sometimes because it ends up being like that in talking about like the women with the OnlyFans and the TikTok and the social media stuff is just so demoralizing.
Yeah, it
in
is.
a lot of ways. Like
The endless torrential rain of
well, are there any
black
stories
pilling
that
content.
Well, there's the reason why like I like doing like the other couple of days I was doing wholesome of the day because I need something
Yeah.
to
I
like
like
that.
Like I proposed cute of the day because I was like, we always do cringe videos
Yeah.
at the beginning of the show, and how about we like balance that out a little bit with
Yeah.
like cute animals?
That's and you know what the thing is I like stuff like that, but it doesn't trend as much as the
True.
negative stuff, and that's sad to me.
by design.
Yeah,
I mean, people
it's
know
true.
that like they've talked about like there's a reason why news articles started getting much more ridiculous headlines in the late 2010s or in the early 2010s because they did all the research. They realized what gets shares on social media, and we all know that it's outrage and anger, and that's a shame. Right?
Yeah.
That like I follow a lot of like the good news movement accounts on social media, which are literally just positivity propaganda. And I love it. It's fantastic. Like, it's all just stories. It's like so-and-so worked at the same grocery store for 25 years. And when his bike broke down, his neighborhood bought him a car. I'm like, I don't even know if this is real, but I'm sharing it. Like this could be fake for all I know.
Yeah.
Like I'm not looking into it, but I'm hoping that it's real. Right?
The most recent thing that I saw was this woman in like New York who she worked at a hospital. She's some nurse and she was pregnant. She bought a city bike, those rent bikes in the city. And literally this group of guys like tried to steal it from her. They recorded the whole thing and lied and said that they paid for the bike.
Yeah.
And she was trying to steal it.
That was in the
But it
news. That
turns
was on
out
Twitter today.
she has the receipts.
Right.
She paid for it and has her entire life ruined over this. Lost her job and everything.
She has a lawyer now. She had the receipts for it.
I hope she sues
and
the shit out of that hospital as well.
And the headline on the article that was talking about this today says footage shows woman appearing to steal, but and then they're like, you are putting a lot that word appearing is literally holding up your libelous lawsuit, preventing you from getting sued, right? And all of the responses were the meme that says, no matter how much you hate the media, you don't hate them enough.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I would feel so insulted to know that the media can literally put out like a clip without full context and then everyone jumps on it. Like this, look at this racist Karen. It's like that should say something about your inability to think critically about what happened before it started being recorded.
Yep. But the problem is like people are kind of used to these sound bites now, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody's going through social media and scrolling looking for the whole context most of the time. People are scrolling, they see one clip, they read it, they watch it, they read the headline, and then they move on. Maybe they go through a thread that's on there. This is actually why Andrew Tate was such a big deal when he got arrested, because the amount of disinformation that came out about it proved to you that you have a very hard time getting to any level of truth when watching things on the internet. I looked it up and I'm like, was he arrested? Yes. And then the next response, no. Then the next response, yes. And then
We
the next
also
response,
couldn't find out whether it was the pizza box after all that revealed his location. I'm pretty sure it was not the case.
That was an interesting conspiracy, though.
Yeah.
it would have been cool if
It was funnier to think of it that way.
I like the idea that Greta Thunberg can just call up the police chief in Romania and
She's
be
like,
I don't like him.
hello.
Arrest him.
New World Order.
Yeah.
I've
Like,
got a complaint.
It's got like a Pizza Hut phone line for the New World Order. Like 488-8888, call the New World Order, and you just call there, and Klaus Schwab's secretary picks up and says, "How can I direct your call?"
Yes, Greta.
And
We've got you.
it's like Bohemian Grove 1, the WEF 2, and it's got like a phone list of all the places you can get in touch with, like the royal family 3, and then Aleister Crowley relatives.
For Greta, they'll be like, we'll charter a steamboat for you.
Yes, exactly. So, Greta, what's she doing these days? She was arrested
Not
at a
much.
protest, and then they showed her not being arrested because the cops were hanging out with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Robert Downey Jr., the vegan diet is really taking a toll on her.
Robert Downey Jr. does not look healthy. He's
I haven't seen.
Oh, he's looking
Unrecognizable.
sickly thin.
Is he sick?
I
Nope,
mean, he
just vegan.
Oh. Okay. I didn't know
not
that.
healthy. Yeah. I would like to see people do different trends if they're going to be on TikTok. Make something more wholesome. Is that
Not going to happen,
Not
Brett.
gonna-
Sorry.
No.
I will eternally hope for the goodness in people. Sorry if I'm foolish for that. It's what
Also,
it is.
I don't know what this currency is from this super chat, so let me know if that's equivalent to $20.
Yes,
and I'll read it.
I know it's color coordinated for a lot of it, but I've never seen that currency before. But let's move on. Let's talk about you.
Oh.
Shall we talk about you?
If you'd like.
I would like to talk about you.
Sure.
First things first, I got a bit of a story to tell. I can tell the audience this because we were talking about this before. When I came to work here, I was like, ooh, I work here now. I get to make suggestions about people they should have on IRL, people they should get involved. And your name was one of the first, I think it might have been the first name that I sent to Lydia and sent to a couple of other people at the company saying, like, I think you could have a fantastic conversation with Gothix. And then not that long after, you eventually actually did end up getting to go on IRL. Mm-hmm. Yep. And the night Ukraine got invaded.
Yep. Yeah, I said like 2 words during that entire conversation because I was like, what is going on in Ukraine?
Yeah, that's the limit of IRL being a topical show. Is
Yeah.
like you don't know who's going to be on that night and whether they'll be super opinionated about it.
Yeah.
Like, do you need somebody to come in and say that the media is awful and government is bad? Because I can do that.
Yeah.
Like, if you need that, I
I can be the hype man.
Yeah,
Be
there
like,
you there you go.
Mhm.
There you go. But it was like now, like I was talking about how I got to have like everyone that they eventually had on, I've now been able to have come back and now have you on the show here today. So thank you
We
for coming.
stole you.
Thank
from
you
the-
for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're so I want to ask you first to tell people about your story because we're going to show the trailer because there's a documentary that's coming out made about you very soon
Yeah.
with from Graham, right? And Graham's awesome.
Yep.
So let's have you tell us who you are. Give us a little bit of a rundown of what your story is before we watch the trailer.
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Gothix, and I got started doing content creation on Twitch, just doing like sketch comedy and playing video games.
No hot tubs.
Yeah, no hot tubs at all. Not my thing. And I was growing my audience on there. I was making a living. That was what I was doing full time. And I said some things on Twitter that a lot of people in the streaming community, specifically Black streamers, were not happy about. And it had,
What were those things?
it had to do with the Little Mermaid movie. Because at that time, Disney had released information about it, saying that they were going to cast Haley Bailey, who was a black
Halle
actress.
Bailey.
Halle Bailey?
Halle Bailey.
Haley?
Imagine
Something like that.
imagine not being
After Miss Bailey,
Halle Bailey.
Sally.
Halle Bailey. Imagine like I think I've made it through most of the videos talking about this without saying Halle Berry.
What did
Yeah,
you
it's
say
hard.
about it?
Yeah.
So I was looking at people calling everyone racist if they were questioning why the actress was black instead of white. And I grew up watching The Little Mermaid, and I had the same question, like, why are they casting this actress black? And everyone was like, oh, you're racist if you have an issue with this. And it's like, no. It's like you just can't throw that term around just because people have a disagreement over this movie. Yeah. And so I said that. And apparently, the audacity of me, that was not okay.
How dare you?
I quickly became like anti-black. I hate myself. I am disrupting the black progress, whatever weird buzzwords they were throwing at me. And so yeah, they basically went after my sponsors. They a lot of people unsubscribed. There was like this organized mob to get me deplatformed, and I eventually like took a break, like a few months of not streaming. So I canceled myself because I was like,
Hey, that's a tactic nobody saw coming.
yeah, I just couldn't handle it. Like, I know, like, being on the internet, you guys probably get mean comments all the time from people. right?
I don't get as many. I don't get as many. Like
Okay.
I'm actually pretty lucky.
Yesterday, I got a comment that's like, "I've never hated anyone's appearance more than yours." So yeah, I'm
Ouch.
familiar.
I get mean comments on the YouTube.
Okay.
Like I get plenty of that on the YouTube, but so like most of my takes are so mild that like I still laugh sometimes when like I see the people that follow me and it's like conservatives and I'm just so not like I'm just a I'm literally just an
Milquetoast
old liberal.
fence sitter.
And
Okay.
so I don't feel like I get a lot of that.
Did you feel like when that happened, you were letting them win?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yep.
And like I said, like, I signed up to be a content creator, so I knew I was going to get hate mail at some point, but it was just at that time, it was like thousands of people coming at me at once, and I wasn't used to that.
I bet you didn't expect it to also be racial in nature.
It was,
you
yeah,
know?
I didn't expect it to be racial, and I didn't expect my audience to just flip on me overnight, because a lot of
Right.
these people were people that I thought were my friends,
Yeah.
and we're like,
Yeah.
bye.
And it's because they make so many assumptions about you when they don't know you. They assume that you have all of these opinions just because
Yeah.
you've stayed silent on a certain issue.
I do want to point out, guys, before we move on, that we'll do the $20 super chats right now if it involves questions for Gothix, but we will return to the $20 super chat format once we get done with this portion so that we
Okay.
can keep the conversation going. There is one right there from Crispy Leg Transport LLC.
Is your guest related to the ESPN lady?
Who is the ESPN
Who's
lady?
that?
Who is the ESPN lady? This
need
is
more
pop culture
info.
crisis, not sports culture crisis.
Okay.
I don't know who that is, unless we're talking about like Charlie on TV. But she was a WWE and ESPN lady. But and the new one is there? I
think that was it.
Is that I don't know what that currency is for the
Yeah.
down there. Okay, I want to ask for you how the documentary came about.
Yeah, so I was in the process of moving over to YouTube because, I tried to go back and continue making content on Twitch and just people hated me. So I'm like, well, I can't make a living doing this. So I was like, let me start making a YouTube account. And so I started putting out some videos, and then Graham reached out to me out of nowhere, and he was like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and I wanted to see if you wanted to be in a documentary. And I actually ignored him because I was like, this is
left
weird.
him on red.
I was like, this is weird. Who is this strange man on the internet that wants to make a movie about me? Odd. And so he was very persistent, and eventually I forgot how he ended up getting through to me, but
Candy.
yeah, maybe it was Candy.
Candy in the van.
It could have been. Yeah.
But I'm sure you're glad you did.
No, I'm absolutely so many things for the better have happened since we linked up, and I think overall it's going to be a story that's going to resonate with a lot of people. Even though it's a little bit weird for me to say that I have a movie being made about me, but I think the premise of it is a really important message.
Okay, we got a $20 one right there.
Clint said, I got a question for Gothix. How you doing?
How you doing?
You know, girl, I'm just chilling. How you doing?
Let's watch the trailer. Let's go ahead and watch the trailer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull that up really quick, and
Is this trailer up anywhere else?
No.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
First look.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys. I got full screen. Let's do this. Should be good.
There is no redemption. There is no conversation. It is whatever we say about you is truth, and you're done.
One friend did it with us. He heard our side of the story and he was just like, oh wow, this is completely understandable. I see where you guys are coming from. Then he writes us later on, we weren't the right type of black friend.
Breaks on that for a while. I don't know how much out of this time I need that I'm at right now. I need to clear my head. I haven't been feeling myself. I think it's time for me to take a break. Like I just feel like I'm kind of floating without any purpose right now. They brought up my boyfriend. They wanted to know if he was white, because if he was, that would have made sense to them of why I was acting like this.
Seeing people automatically say, okay, the reason you have a problem with this is because you're racist is an issue for me. I said, we need to stop doing this. I'm talking in a matter of 24 hours, I became
Over the course of 4 days, I had more racism towards me from other people that looked like me than in my entire existence on this planet.
what's the next step once they realize I can't, attack someone on social media and make them disappear, so what do we gotta do now? Is physical assault okay?
And I just see like these pools of blood, and I'm like, okay, I'm panicking now.
It's scary that that's a story that we're now having to see told in a culture that should be far more advanced.
Yeah.
Like that should be
Yeah.
far more enlightened.
Yeah.
It's almost not even a story about you. It's like one that is about a lot of people's experience.
Yeah, and it you know what the thing is society, like people's emotions, they've been so coddled, and like the emotional resilient and maturity, it's like non-existent. So when I try telling people like, listen, cancel culture isn't funny. Like this isn't something that you do to like hold someone accountable or whatever weird explanation they have for it. Like there's some serious repercussions at the end of it. But people don't realize it when they're in the heat of the moment. They're just trying to not be angry at that time, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think that this is one of those things where you've grown as a has the vitriol, did that help you kind of harden your core?
yeah.
Like you're a different person now than you were when this started.
Oh yeah, I was a mess. Like my husband was there with me throughout the entire thing, and there were days where I was depressed. Like it was bad. But now it's like I have zero fear to talk about the most seemingly controversial topics, and if I didn't go through that experience, I don't think I would be where I am now.
And it is
You got hate online before this whole thing ever happened.
Yeah.
But what was all of that hate about? It was just shallow stuff,
It was
I'm guessing?
shallow stuff, like you're dumb, you're ugly, you know. But this was like, it struck me at my core because it's like, oh, you hate yourself, you hate black people, and
Right.
I also think that this is sort of ties into how society likes to incorporate identity politics into every conversation. So like hearing things like you're anti-black and you hate black women, that's something that really struck a nerve with me, because growing up I would always hear I'm not black enough because I don't act in a particular way. So it's one of those things that, you know, get under your skin, and when you have thousands of people saying it at once, it's like, oh, am I these things?
Yeah.
It's very hard to disassociate from all of it coming in at one time, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody's really designed for that. And I really do think that's something that will eventually have to be studied in a way. Like nobody was ready. When you really think about it, in your lifetime, how many really harsh disagreements do you have with a person on a regular basis where somebody calls into question your morality and everything that you stand for in person? Very rarely.
Right.
It's not something that the average person goes through on a regular basis, let alone with that many people all at the same time. And it's going to be the type of thing where we'll have to have more people like you who can speak out about it and help people understand that it's something that can be overcome and gotten over, but it takes work, and it's going to take a lot of a lack of fear once you go through it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think cancel culture, honestly, it's a tool to keep people in compliance, because I get messages from people all the time saying, I wish I could speak up like you, I'm just afraid of what people will say. And I'm like, that's the point, is they want to use this as leverage to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, a lot of people get the messages where it's like, oh, I really support what you're doing, I can't say anything about it because of my job, because of this, because of that. And I get that. Like I do. I'm not one of the people that thinks that you have to speak up just because it's your duty. Like I'm not going to be the person who says that's your responsibility, because I think that's anti-individualist in a lot of ways, that person has a right not to, but they also then have to come up and deal with the consequences of feeling like they're never actually saying what's on their mind.
Right.
And that can be, I think Jordan Peterson has talked about that before, like that's its own special brand of hell, to feel like you've never been heard with what your true opinions are about things.
Right.
And did people like you only for like shallow reasons or assumptions they made about you rather than whatever is genuine that you were presenting before? But it's interesting, the attempt at cancellation has only put you on a trajectory of more growth.
Oh yeah, like
It's totally self-defeating.
It really is. It's self-defeating. And also on the other side of that too is, I think people, they think that by antagonizing some stranger online, someone that they don't like their opinion, they're going to make them disappear. But in actuality, people that actually stick to their guns and they don't change their opinion, I think they end up working out pretty well in the end, and giving them more publicity, which is funny to me, actually.
You just have to be willing to understand that the publicity means that you're going to have a harder road with the people who disagree with you.
Sure.
Right.
But at the same time, like I lost a lot of friends, I lost a lot of support, but the people that I have in my circle now are higher quality. Like I value them more.
That was a question I had, was like, you lost people that were once you considered friends or family?
Yeah.
Did that happen with any family at all?
There is some tension with family.
Yeah.
They see my content, you know, and they don't agree. But it was mostly with friends, people that I knew for years, and they were just like, okay, bye, I can't be around you all. You know, I turned into this crazy person overnight. And that's totally fine.
Crisis party!
Sorry about that.
Thank you for the apology, Mary. We don't apologize. The crowd wants it, the crowd gets it. I like that.
Bring me another.
Yeah. See? There you go.
You heard it here. She said more parties.
Of course, it always happens. Like somebody's making like a serious point. It never happens when you're just BSing. It always happens at the most inconvenient of times.
So it's like, yeah, the tension in my family was, and then it's just like,
boom. I like it. That's nice.
Guys, thank you. There is the $20 one there from Crispy Leg LLC.
Okay. He said, I had the networks wrong. Is she related to Joy Taylor because she sounds so much like her? Who's Joy
that?
Taylor?
We're also like.
I'm sorry,
don't know
we're
who
not
that
into
is.
sports here. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I love sports, but I don't know who Joy Taylor is. But like, okay, then so you lost some friends, right?
Most of them.
Did you
Like
most
real
of them.
life
Most of
friends
them.
or people that you met through your
real
streaming?
life. I guess part of the problem, and maybe this is something a lot of people can relate to, is that I had a really flawed understanding of what friends meant. And so a lot of the people that I thought were my friends were really just like coworkers, and that we stopped working together, but we would still hang out. And the more we got closer to like the presidential election, I started seeing a lot of these friends on social media demonizing people, calling them nasty things. I'm like, wait a minute, they're talking about me too. so yeah, I think people they get that misconstrued of what is a friend. Yeah.
There's it is kind of a meme. Like, if you ever tried to like hang out with people from work, like you got a group of work friends and then somebody like leaves the job and then they try to still hang out with everybody and it gets really weird because they don't have that thing that they had in common with them anymore. So it divides things. I do want to ask if anybody has come around. Have any of these people that said stuff about you, demonized you, did any of them come around and say, maybe they admitted that they were wrong? Maybe it's not so much as that as maybe they came around and said, I wasn't necessarily wrong, but I do understand now that we're allowed to have different points of view. Was there anyone like that?
Sorry, big super chat from Airtez00 said another party coming right up.
Oh,
thank you.
So just brace yourself.
Brace yourself. It could happen any time in the next 5 minutes. It's on a timer.
Did people come around?
2 people.
A whole 2.
just
Damn.
a whole 2. One of them I had an hour-long conversation with, and it was nice. She just realized that she admitted to me that she was following other people when she basically went on social media and publicly declared that she didn't want to be my friend anymore. So and she admitted that. She was like, yeah, I wasn't thinking for myself. I just sort of followed the herd, and I respect that. And I think and I'm not waiting for an apology from people, but I think that a lot of people don't come to that conclusion, that don't want to apologize or what have you, because it's either pride or they're afraid or they're guilty, and I don't know. But yeah,
got another big super chat from That Stanzatastic. Yo, PCC crew, wanted to donate this on whatever, but would rather y'all get it directly. Also, holy crap, good to see Gothix. I liked the coverage they gave to Say No to Rage. That cancellation hurt having to see. Keep it real, y'all.
Yes. One of my favorite videos he did was the reaction to No Lives Matter by Tom McDonald.
Oh, yeah,
which is, in my opinion, his best song.
And you've been like doing streams with some other rappers too, like Bryson Gray.
I've restarted interviewing people, and I want to introduce them to music that isn't degenerate.
Yeah, I like Bryson Gray.
Sorry, but I grew up loving degenerate rap music, so I'm gonna keep
has its
listening to
place.
degenerate rap music.
I get it. Like, I grew up listening to a lot of degenerate stuff now, but now in my age, in the things I've learned, I'm looking at this music, I'm like, what is going on?
And another thing we wanted to ask you about was religion, because you recently have made some content talking about it.
Yeah.
Where are you at with your religious beliefs?
I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and this wouldn't have happened if Graham didn't reach out to me to do this documentary, because I think he planted the seed, and at the right time, because I was very depressed and I wasn't really thinking about anything but the whole cancel culture stuff.
Does he get like some type of reward from the church for putting some? It's like when you bring in a
for
friend,
sure.
like a referral code. Is there a referral code for him?
Hell
Commission?
Yeah.
Something like it's like Graham 20. If you type in Graham 20 on your fee, that's good. That's good.
that.
You should have a 20 to marry referral code.
It's a
for
referral
anyone who
code
goes
to
to
heaven.
church. That's good. Like, the more you bring in, the higher up
it's gonna be
you
more
go.
perks.
Were you always Christian, or what were you before this?
Oh no, I was in high school. I was a Wiccan. And I was a witch.
And before witch talk was ever a thing. So you're kind of the OG there.
Oh yeah, yep. So and then after that, I was agnostic from like my 20s on.
Yes!
Let's do it. Let's go!
We love Ian. Maybe I should make a video graphic to go with it.
You should.
Like it's just Ian screaming.
Love it.
Was Ian on when you did IRL?
Yes.
Yes. See, I still have no idea what he was talking about in that. Like I just got sent those clips by Carter, who does the music here. He's like, got these for you. And you're like, what the hell is he talking about? I have no idea. No idea. So you were an agnostic for a certain period of time?
Yeah, most of my adult life.
Okay.
20s until like a year and a half ago.
Did you have an edgy atheist phase?
No, I mean it was so interesting. So when I was Wiccan, I was very, very anti-Christianity, anti-God. I tell the story of me as a teenager running to the girls' bathroom and throwing a Bible in the toilet as a protest.
Did you go to a Christian school?
No.
Wow.
You were just like, I gotta protest something.
I'm so angry.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then eventually I fell out of the whole Wiccan thing. It was actually a Christian woman that scared me out of not being a witch.
How did she do that?
I was at that time I started to dress really gothic, and I used to have this purse that looked like a coffin, and she was like, if you dress like that, you're gonna go to hell. And I was thinking to myself, I said, wait a minute, I actually didn't do any research into hell and heaven and God, so I really can't confirm or deny, so I don't really understand where my anger is coming from towards Christianity. So I had like a logical reasoning moment there. And so from then onwards, I was like, I'll just be agnostic. And little by little, I became less angry towards Christians. Yeah. But it wasn't until I met Graham that I was like, oh, okay, you're totally not like the Christians I see on TV.
Yeah.
You're not Ted Flanders.
Well, I think there's a lot of like that's a lot of where that feeling comes from, right? It's what they've been told those Christians are like, the way that they behave, the way that they feel that they're being judged or morally judged by those people, when that's not always the case. As somebody who's like, I've never had any like ill will towards religion of any sort. I grew up in a family that Sunday Catholics went more so when my parents got divorced, but wasn't really religious, and still to this day am not. But I never had that like strong feeling one way or the other towards any side of the matter. So I think that might be different. Like maybe for me it's a little bit harder because I don't have like a push to it, because you had more raw emotions connected to it. It was just different raw emotions when it started.
Right, exactly. Right? Yeah. And I would also go on to say, I think a lot of people that end up making the transition into accepting Christ, is a lot of them do so when they're at their lowest point. Yeah. Like it's when you have nothing else to look forward to, you're just like, well, what else do I have to lose? Which is what I was thinking. Like, I'm depressed and nothing is fixing this. Weed isn't fixing this, therapy isn't fixing it, so why not?
Therapy has kind of turned into a secular form of religion for a lot of people in this day and age.
Even like even in that in the article when we talked about yesterday, we talked about Mia Khalifa. She talks about, and I'm so thankful I got into therapy, and I'm like, I bet because like they love to, they've kind of fetishized therapy. Like they love to, like one of my like times where I had a day where I was like, the internet made me irrationally angry. It was the first time I saw one of the memes where it's like, I beat my therapist, where it's like, I'm the most broken person. Like I said something and my therapist is like, wow, you're screwed up. I'm like, that, first of all, Cat,
like
that
therapy
did not
is
happen.
a game for them.
Yeah,
basically.
like it's a weird type of,
and being unfixable is the prize that you win. At
terrible.
the end.
And that's wrong. Like that pushing that type of thing on people is wrong.
It's sort of like people have normalized depression and mental illness, and it's like, no, you have to admit that there actually is a problem. Like it isn't normal for you to be going to therapy. Like otherwise you wouldn't be going to therapy.
It's like when one of my favorites is like there's a whole realm of like memes that are revolved around like skating, and some it's like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says like, how much does it hurt, and you say the normal amount, and he says like 0 is the normal amount, and you're like, no way. Like, that doesn't seem real to me. Like, it is what it is. How has this affected the content you've been creating? Because I've noticed that your content has shifted, and you do talk more about religion and faith in the videos that you're making.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's obviously shifted a lot. A lot of people don't like it, but I'm not
That's
forcing
what I was
them.
gonna ask.
I'm not forcing them to watch it. I've never updated my About Me section on my YouTube. It says I do things, and so I'm still doing things.
Yeah.
And
the goal of cancel culture is for you to just stop doing anything.
Right. And so like
homeless in a box. That's what they want you. They want you homeless in a box.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, well, if you're only watching me just because I'm saying things that you want to hear, it's like, well, are you really learning anything? Are you challenging yourself, or are you just listening to yourself repeat things back to you?
I think that's actually something that most people in these spaces have to be wary of, me, everyone included. Like, look, a lot of times you don't watch, there's a fine line, right, between watching content because you want to be informed on issues that you care about, because they're talking about things that are important to you, and the average person wants to have their views said back to them, or at the very least, they don't want to watch a bunch of stuff that's going to be challenging them if it's not the goal to be challenged in that moment. Like, when I watch certain creators, it's because it's somebody who I know holds views that at the very least, I understand that they've been consistent most of the time. I love Styx Hexenhammer because his videos are of a certain length, and I get a lot of information out of those videos in a certain period of time, right? But you can't go into everything that you watch just to watch it to be agreed with. Otherwise, you're not really challenging yourself. But as a creator, you have to find a fine line, right? Like, you're making stuff to speak to what you want to talk about, but there is a part of these relationships where people expect you to cover certain things. I think Ivory Hecker would talk about, like, when she went independent and started making content on her own, she's an independent news reporter, she would post pictures at, like, on the beach, and conservatives would get mad. And she'd be like, look, I can't help you.
Well,
like,
also, like, I want to go back to, like, religion for a second, because you mentioned people have, like, publicly converted to Christianity, and, sometimes when they're attacked for it, it's based on the appearance, and you're expected to take on a certain appearance based on your beliefs. I really respect that you've kept the integrity of, like, your style. Like, you still have this alternative style, and it has nothing to do with the fact that you are now a Christian. Like, being Christian myself, I'm Catholic, I get the same comments that attack based on appearances only. Like, you don't look like the stereotypical, Puritan Amish person that I expect you to be. So, like, have you gotten comments like that?
Oh, all the time. When are you getting your tattoos removed? Never. Like, I have no desire to do that. And it even goes beyond just the physical appearance. Sometimes it's just like my humor and my personality. There'll be some days where I'm streaming and I'm just really hyper. I'm just like all over the place because I'm goofy. And people will be like, "Are you drunk? Are you high? Like, what's wrong with her?" I'm like, "This is literally my personality." So it's, on the one hand, I get criticisms from like atheists, and on the other hand, I get criticisms from longtime believers, and they're just like, "You're not fitting into this mold of which I thought a Christian should be."
Right. And that's the mold that I think it sounds like repelled you from Christianity in the first place.
Yeah, because
very unproductive.
I had this perception in my mind that Christianity meant very uptight, very just like, stick up the butt. And that's not what it is, but I suspect part of that narrative comes from people that want to micromanage every single thing about how someone presents themselves. Like, obviously I'm not gonna walk around with my butt hanging out, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a fine line of, like, modesty, and then like me and a shaved head and tattoos, I don't.
Like, we talked about Black China, who's gone through a public conversion to Christianity, got baptized recently, has now gotten her fillers dissolved. She's removing all of her implants and stuff like that. And we were talking about, like, is it a trend for people to become Christian these days? Like, in a niche way in pop culture, is it a trend to convert and then have this whole aesthetic transformation as well with it? And, like, I see that people in your comments have placed that same pressure on you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that there are some people that sort of go for this, like, cultural conversion where who knows how legitimate it might be, and maybe but I think naturally, like, you will change from the inside out. And for a lot of people, like, I think Black China is a good example of this. I think I think she's actually, like, saved, and I think the more you grow deep in your faith, the more you might start to change. But I also, again, like, I'm not gonna wear a turtleneck. I don't know what that image is supposed to be.
And there's room for everybody in the church.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, I do have a couple of other questions. I want to know what you think the greatest issue facing the culture is right now.
Oh my goodness. That's such a big question.
I know, right?
Come on.
I wrote it down and was like,
Biggest issue facing the culture.
This would be different to everyone, and that's the point of subjective of these type of subjective questions. This could be a very different answer from you, from me, from anyone else here. I just thought that maybe if what you're focusing on with your content has shifted, it could mean that the issues that you think the culture are facing are now different.
Yeah. Well, let me actually answer that from in the reverse. The reason that I started talking about God on my channel is because prior to that, I was talking about politics. It's like, okay, we see all this news, we see all the degeneracy, the depravity in the world, we get it. We see the same things over and over again. Now the question is, how do we fix it? Yeah. And my point of view is this is a moral issue, so we have to address the morals. Because people say that politics is downstream from culture. Well, above culture, we got morals. So let's fix the morals, then you fix the culture, then there's no need to argue about politics.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's where I am. So from my opinion, I can see that one of the biggest problems in society, I think, is people are addicted to acceptance from the world. And I think social media has really spearheaded that, where it's like, I mean, as we were talking about, people walking into strangers' houses just for some clicks.
Yeah. Interesting.
It does feel like there's I think a lot of it is that we've gotten so accustomed to just acceptance being like what you expect from everyone now, meaning that nobody goes into the world anymore outside of the internet and expects anyone to disagree with them or tell them that they might be wrong on anything.
Right.
Like you're supposed to just say, oh, it's fine. You're just supposed to accept everything at face value. You're not really, outside of the internet, expected to ever have any type of disagreement with the person, because that would be bigoted in some fashion now.
Right.
You can't disagree with people at all.
Right.
Yeah. And
so that's where, and one of the things that I have learned coming to Christ is that the only acceptance that I'm seeking is acceptance from my Father in heaven. Yeah. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to parrot the same talking points that culture is saying just for the sake of me maintaining my platform and going and, doing whatever. Like it doesn't matter to me. And I think a lot of people are caught in that place where if they don't say the right things, they're afraid they're going to lose their job, their friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And regardless of where you fall, where one falls on whether Christianity is true, it's resonant with people right now, that message in scripture that the world is going to hate you.
Yeah.
For being a follower of Christ. And like, it feels like the world hates you for any allegiance to the truth now.
Yeah.
All right. I got an idea. Let's read some of the super chats here.
We've got some to get through here.
We'll get through those, and then we will get started on the regular stuff.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's do that.
Okay. Andrew Jacobs said, Mary, you are 1000% correct about In-N-Out. Mid at best. McDonald's Quarter Pounder is the best fast food burger. Also, Destiny's a jerk. Hi, BNG.
Oh, Wendy's Double Stack by far. Sorry, Wendy's Double Stack.
Best fast food burger? I don't know.
I'm
not really into burgers that much.
Thoughts? Best fast food burger?
Have you had In-N-Out before?
She's okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
She's okay. The boba is that good.
It was a boba. I choked on the boba.
The boba is hitting.
It's when the boba just hits different. That's what it is.
In-N-Out? I think I have. It's okay.
Have? Yeah, I just thought the fries were awful. Just the worst.
You just
fries.
had a bad experience. Oh, $20 one right there from Iratus.
He said, still in the pagan witch camp for years now. Nothing against Christians, and out of respect during prayer given before running events, I do still bow my head. My thought process is it's a journey, and if I go back, then great.
See, that seems very open-minded to me.
That's open-minded.
I like it.
Seeing Witch Talk must have been a trip for you.
Witch Talk? What?
Like all the witches on TikTok.
It's
who
so
put
annoying.
hexes on
it's
people
so
they don't
annoying.
like.
And it's so like, okay, I realize that we got witches watching. I don't mean to offend, all right? But it's coming from someone that used to do that. It's very prideful in the sense that you believe you have the power to manifest something. Like, I don't believe we as humans are capable of doing things like that.
Every TV show that I love does, like, every cop procedural does at least one episode with witches, and it's always hilarious. Because they always like to delve into subcultures and subgroups, and there's always an episode with some type of witch, and they always play them off as like clowns, and it's never very kind to the witches in those episodes. The Rizzoli and Isles one was actually not that bad. You guys should go watch that show. Go watch Rizzoli and Isles. If it was being made today,
it'd be called queer baiting.
It would be called they would never allow two women characters to be like that close to best friends without turning them gay, because that's half of what the show ended up becoming about, was all the people weirdos on Tumblr who made debated about like whether they're going to get together or not. So you should go watch that show. It's on HBO Max.
Burt Mans just said Gothix.
2 exclamation points.
G Santoyo said, love you, Gothix. I've been following you for years. I am excited to see you on the show. Keep fighting the good fight.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Unknown said, hail Gothix and PCC. Let's go. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, Gothix, love your content and how unashamed of your faith you are. Keep it up. This is great.
I will.
Positivity.
As a matter of fact, I will. I was thinking about giving up, but now I'm going to do it.
Your super chat is the singular
Yes!
reason. Thank you. Oh, we've got one from Noah Sanders.
That's Phil.
Sorry, let me hold, please.
Yeah, like it depends on how important the point you want to make is. So sometimes, like me and Mary are kind of dead inside from all of it, so we can talk right through it. Like it could just be screaming at us, and we're like, and that was when Tom Cruise said to this person that this happened, and it doesn't matter.
Noah Sanders said, Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God, or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ.
Yup.
Galatians 1:10.
Amen. Right there.
Also, Whataburger is the best.
I've never tried it.
I've been to Mark Wahlberg's burger restaurant. Yeah, Wahlburger. It was good. Oh, and Airtez said, which talk makes me think the Crusades should make a return?
Hey, that's a hot take right
Whoa.
there. That's a hot take. Let's hold off on the rest. We will come. Oh, no, actually, there was one more there that was a $20 one that I wanted to make sure that we got to.
I don't think we missed
There was.
any.
No, there was. It was right. It was during her, when we were talking to Gothix about her stuff, but it wasn't about Gothix. It was from Derek Menson. It says, Mary, what's your opinion on this? Okay, you got it?
I don't see
Okay,
it.
I got it. It says, Mary, what's your opinion on this e-girl versus the ones who had to deal with them on whatever podcast?
Yeah, the e-girl movement is a big tent movement. Twitch is a crazy place. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just really sad how a lot of women on the internet feel like the only thing they have to offer is sex, basically.
There was
being some kind of like fake portrayal of the porn that they've watched or that their audience has watched. It was really sad to sit across from someone and just feel like you were created to be somebody else and this isn't it.
Do you think that it's one of those things that for a lot of them, it's because it's so easy to sell? Did you ever see Van Wilder?
No.
You guys ever see Van Wilder? Well, in Van Wilder, there's a scene where he gets the strippers to do topless tutoring because he can't get guys to like these guys. Guys pay money to be given tutoring lessons from topless strippers who are paying their way. It's the trope. They're all in law school, so they're all really smart. They just happen to be strippers, and it's just like, look, we were making okay money, but now we're making bank because we're doing exactly what we were doing at the strip club. We're just doing it while teaching people about history.
Are they actually paying attention, though?
That's a very good question. I don't know if they ever followed that story up on there, but it's just part of it's that they're filling a market, and it's a big market. Like that market for people of wanting sexual content is unfortunately never going away. There's no getting rid of something like that. And unfortunately, I think it only grows in this culture, in this society. And with technology as readily available as it is, outside of authoritarian means to stop it, I don't think it goes away because it speaks to so much of the loneliness in the culture that's going on right now. There's so much of it. And in the cynical terms, it's just a capitalist industry filling a need. It's just a need that a lot of people wish we didn't have to fill. So.
Let's read one more. Albus Rooster Dude Dumbledore said, getting arrested for trespassing is a trend. SMH. Well, getting shot for self-defense maybe next. Not in the UK, though.
They don't have to worry. Well, they could still get knifed, I suppose.
I guess.
Well, did you ever see that thing with like the UK police like put out all the butter knives and the knives that they confiscated? Like it's like one of those. Like they want to be the cool American cops with all the guns and the drugs on the table, but instead it's like butter knives and steak knives, and it's like ooh, very scary.
Wow.
But that's still going on over there. There's all sorts of like knife attacks. There was like a mass knifing recently. That's a thing. So that. Those kids could still have easily gotten harmed by that guy. So, all right, let's get started, shall we?
Yes.
So, Dove, if you were wondering who it was going to be that was going to bring back Gamergate, if your answer wasn't Dove soap, you lost the bet because Dove Soap is taking a stand against over-sexualized women fronting video games.
This is so nostalgic.
It is.
Feels like 2015 all over again.
I love it. I'm
gonna go start watching Sargon videos.
I'm ready for Anita Sarkeesian to weigh in.
I thought that we put this issue to rest.
Nope. Oh, there's a $20 one right there from Clint Torres.
He said, Mary, I'm halfway through the whatever podcast episode you were on, and just because your awesome facial expressions, I have to finish it.
See, it's the look of disapproval and disgust on your face that speaks to everyone.
Keep it hidden. Yeah.
So I do want to ask you first, what are your thoughts about the concept of representation in video games?
Okay. It's so stupid.
Like, the thing is, I don't think that this is the problem. Men don't care about representation in video games. They want to look like the guy in the video game. They don't want the guy in the video game to look like them. Mm-hmm. At least it feels like that to me. Like, it's seen as more aspirational. The men would like to look like that. The women see it as an indictment of society and the men that create it.
I think it's dumb. Honestly, like my first game console was just a regular Nintendo. And the games back then were just little pixel things. And I was just happy to play a video game.
What was your favorite original Nintendo game?
I actually don't remember it, but it was like a ninja one. It was like a side scroller. I can't remember it. No, it was like, I can't remember it.
I loved all, like, my brother my first was a Sega Genesis, but my brother had a Nintendo that I played. I loved Blades of Steel. It was a hockey game where you could fight with people. That was enough for me, and I loved Contra and all that stuff back then. And you're right, you didn't look like anybody.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm just excited to play this thing. It's really cool. And I think that people just got so entitled, and I think it also speaks to the lack of priorities or maybe like boredom in the world, where it's like now they're on this crusade to just get more representation, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't care if I'm represented in a video game, because you putting a black face in a game doesn't do anything for me. Like, I relate a lot to video game characters of all different colors based on their mind, based on their personality.
It's a surface level argument that they present, and it makes it like, if anything, the people that you like in movies and television, it's weird if you stop listening to what they're saying and just look at what they look like and are like, I identify with that person. Yeah. No, I was talking about I was rewatching Man on Fire. I'm like, I wish I could be Denzel Washington in this movie. He's easily my favorite actor. Like, working in the industry today, whether I'm watching Training Day, whether I'm watching American Gangster, whether you're watching any of these movies, Book of Eli, that Jessica would love me mentioning Book of Eli. Like, that's her favorite movie of all time. Like, there's just so much to it that goes beyond. You should be engrossed in the story, not focused on what the person looks like.
Yeah. How about we just show for context the ad campaign that we're talking about? I don't know if we'll get like copyright claim.
I don't know if that's going to happen today, but we can try. Should we show the pictures first, or should we just watch the clip on Twitter?
We've got to show the clip there.
If we get copyrighted, just a heads up, this may get clipped later for copyright concerns, but we're gonna put it on here. So here we go. Start this over. Do we need the music? Does it need the music?
I don't think so.
The music would definitely be copyrighted, but we can talk as we're watching this. So, yes.
You've got Cynthia here.
Yes.
This is the avatar, based on a real person. And she goes back to her dressing room. She's skinny. She's pretty.
Well, we all know that that's bad because it's society in 2023.
Mm-hmm. This part is just the worst. Takes off the makeup. Throws off her armor, and she's fat. Yeah.
Isn't the point supposed to be like that what you look like at home and how you present yourself in public actually can be different? Obviously, this is a wide example of a big example of that, but it feels like it's something where it's like nobody, like, that's not the point of video games. Mm-hmm, the point of the video game isn't to show you reality. You're supposed to be looking at heightened versions of what we are capable. That's why people like superheroes. They're not supposed to represent reality. They're supposed to represent the epitome of what the human body should be capable of achieving. That's why people like Batman, because he is a dude who has brought himself to this elite level through being extremely intelligent, through physical fitness, through hard work. And that's really what it should be about. It should be about representing an ideal, not what's actually in the world. Because I can go to Target if I want to see what's actually in the world. I could do that right now. I could go there and I could go down the aisle with Dove soap and find somebody that looks like this. I don't need to see it in a video game. And I don't think that makes you a bad person to say that, because that's not how entertainment works.
The element of unreality here where she is fighting a monster and has superpowers, that's fine. You can keep that. But being hot is one step too far.
It's bad.
Yeah.
That's weird to me. And they've gotten this group of diverse women together and made them into 3D avatars that they're putting out downloads for. They like teamed up with a game development company to do this, and they say that this is necessary because women who are like oversexed in video games or who wear like skimpy clothing in video games or have like exaggerated proportions hurt the self-esteem of young girls who play video games growing up. And they provide these stats that are very misleading. They say 1.3 million women worldwide, billion women worldwide play video games, average age starting at 10, not recognizing that these games are rarely ones with people even in them. No one is represented in Candy Crush. No one.
Woo!
Thank you.
Like that's like it's. I think they've said that like the women dominate the phone game industry, right? Like much more. Thanks, Ian, for.
But they'll use these stats to overlay it onto the whole industry. That for a large part, young girls are not interested in it.
It's also it's surrendering to the neuroses of people in a lot of ways. Like I said, guys don't look at this stuff and think this way, right? They don't expect, and maybe that's just because boys are now raised in a culture where it seems like men aren't really like that. Young boys aren't really cared about by society. That they don't grow up expecting the world to bend the knee for them. They don't expect that if they complain about some character in a video game with a 16-pack that's not actually possible, they don't expect that guy to be changed to look like they look, because they understand that that's not they're taught early that the world is unfair and that's not the way the world works.
Yeah. I think there's a problem with that, as you said, like people expecting the world to revolve around them just because they have some type of insecurity. It's not my job to affirm you in your body. And then I also think like the whole narrative of like, let's redefine beauty standards, that's literally impossible because people have standards for what they find beautiful, and no amount of campaign is going to change their personal preference.
Hardwired into your brain.
Yeah.
Like the golden ratio is just scientifically accurate. It's hardwired into our brains what is objectively attractive.
There's a reason why there's whole dynamics behind celebrities that all look very, very similar, because there's a traditional aspect of beauty that's undeniable.
But I have a little bit of a contrarian take, I guess, which is that women are right to feel uneasy about the way they're represented in the culture right now. Like the way that our culture is so hypersexualized. There are good reasons to be uncomfortable with that. But because we're not allowed to talk about morals anymore, like you were saying, we have to come up with all these other excuses why we want to change. And we're not allowed to say, like, I don't want to feel over-sexualized just because I'm a woman.
They could just not play the game.
Right.
They could find a different game that doesn't do that to them.
Well, that's like the solution, but it's also like the hypersexualization permeates literally everything in our culture, and I don't want to discredit that, and I don't want to discredit women and young girls feeling uncomfortable with their womanhood for that reason. That is a real thing, and I think it is actually connected to the trans movement and the reasons that a lot of women feel like they need to alienate themselves from their femininity, because it's been so linked to being an oversexed, pornified stereotype.
I think a lot of the pull away from femininity is being linked to being chained to men and a lack of like personal like sovereignty. Like a lot of them see it as, they don't see a wedding as a mutual relationship between two people. It's been portrayed to a lot of them as they are now becoming the property of a man, and oh my goodness, what if this happens? What if I don't have a job and he has to work? And there's a lot of fear of not being responsible for your own.
Sure.
I think it might be a combination of both both of this.
Yeah. For the video game thing, do you remember when, I don't know if you follow like how close you follow, when Mortal Kombat 11 was coming out and they were changing the outfits for the women and they're like, well, these outfits don't make sense because like why would they be in battles to the death in bikinis? And it's like, yeah, well, the guys are essentially naked too. It's why pro wrestling gets a pass in all this. The men and the women both don't dress in a way that's actually a way that a person would dress for a fight. They dress in it like the guys are basically wearing Speedos and the women are dressed overly sexualized because it's a visual medium. It's an extremely aesthetically focused form of entertainment, right?
Sure.
So you
and
expect
ideals
it to be that
exist
way.
for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't think we should get rid of beauty ideals and beauty standards.
So you're on a Nita Sarkeesian side here. We need to cover all the women up. So what you're saying is
I think that people have been shamed out of talking about morals and have to use social justice as the vehicle for their I don't know, like a desire to pull back on the insanity that we are in right now in our culture. Like, you need to use social justice language to protest against things that actually should be protested against. I think that
so you just want burqas on all the women in these games. You just want
Brett. Brett, listen.
I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Do you see what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. No, I think it's a little bit different in these because this is art. Whether they may be moving characters and it may be interactive, but it's still somebody's choice of art. These are still things that go through artistic processes to create stories, and that really is up to the creator. And you, as the audience, have all the power to choose to engage with it or not. It is not society's place to tell them one way or the other whether they should make it that way or not. It's certainly our right to criticize it if we don't like it. Like you said, you're criticizing whether they should look this way. I might criticize if they cover them up and say, why are you doing that for what purpose? But it's still the right of the artist to do that. But the problem is a lot of this ends up in the hands of corporations where it then becomes about what the committee says about that. I remember when they got rid of Johnny Cage doing this in Mortal Kombat and they're like, we got rid of it because of Nazis.
That's so stupid.
1000-Foot Derp End said, seems like garden variety feminism obsessing over the male gaze. They're Puritans, and H.L. Mencken said Puritanism is the gnawing fear that someone somewhere might be having fun.
Yep.
Heaven forbid guys look at attractive females.
One of the things that I thought was interesting about it that came to me was I wonder if deep down there's a fear for the women that, like, look, the men look at these characters and they're created by men. The women look at these characters, but they're created by men. Would it be different? Would the guys feel different about the male characters if they were designed by women? I don't think that they would. I think they would see it the same way. Like, what if like now they start releasing a version of these games and they're made by women because the men are all kind of normal looking and they've got some paunch and they're like, look at these normal looking men, and the guy's like, I don't want to look at normal looking men either.
The gaming industry is the last starting point that you should choose for changing the culture. Like, I don't know why this is the starting point that Gamergate chose.
I mean, that was also because that was about corrupt journalism just as much as anything else.
Dove's slogan is literally, let's change beauty.
In fact, you know what? Let's look at this.
And it's an unattainable goal. It's a moving target. You're never going to be able to change what objective beauty is. And the answer to, like, if you want to criticize the sexualization of women in the culture, attacking beauty is not the right way to go about it.
Yeah. There was the tweet that I had from Bad Kitty Mama. I'm going to put it. She watches in the chat. I saw this tweet earlier today. She said, almost 20 years ago, Dove came out with a body positive inclusive ad, and here we are now promoting obesity. And I think you're right, Mary, that there's a very big difference between these two pictures. That one of them, they're smiling and they look happy, and in the other one, they just look. I mean, granted, I guess they're video game characters, so that could be more about the tone of the game. But
look menacing.
We're
and
bringing.
cold
Look at what it says.
And threatening.
It says we're bringing real beauty to the world, as the ladies like hitting a bat and saying like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you.
Scowling at you.
Real beauty is being mean to you for liking women that look good.
It's also like a backhanded insult, like real beauty. What are you talking about? So are you saying everyone else that doesn't fit into this morbidly obese mold is ugly?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's a buzzword. In a lot of it, like that's giving them the credit that they thought about it that deeply. You
They're
could make
so out
the
of
argument.
touch.
You could make the argument that the most nefarious members of these groups are the thought leaders that start these ideas. But the people that have, once we're down this far down the rung to HR manager Karen number 7, who promoted this, she doesn't even think about it that deeply.
this isn't relevant to the culture, and it
No.
doesn't speak to people.
And you can't get away from that now because it really is HR departments across the world that are destroying America.
And they hire their friends,
Yeah.
and their friends hire their friends, etc., until they control society, and that's the longhouse.
I saw Matt Walsh referred to the term Karen earlier as a racial slur, and I said, "No, good sir, it is not. It's not. Karen is just. I want to speak
I would
to
say
your,
it's a racialized term
no,
at this point.
maybe now, but it didn't start that way.
No,
it was
it did not
never
start
meant
that
to
way.
start
It
that
was.
way.
It might have never meant, but like if you hear Karen, your mind goes. Most people would think white lady.
My mind goes to somebody being mean to a service lady, to a lady who works behind a counter.
See, but you're reasonable.
Yeah,
Like
That's the
my
thing.
mind goes to somebody who says like, "Let me speak to your manager," and it's
Right.
the only way that I would say that I'd see whiteness in it would be because there's the traditional Karen haircut that everyone understands. But even then, I don't really think of it that way. I think of it as like, oh, you're not going to give me a refund. I want to speak to your manager. That's what a Karen was to me at the beginning. In fact, one of the times I got annoyed was when somebody like used it racially, like back when I still had a Facebook, and my gosh, I'm so glad that I do not do that anymore. But like somebody's like used it in a way I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's like, does this have anything to do with somebody being mean to some type of service worker? Because if not, then that's not really the point of the term.
No.
So.
I also wanted to mention this. This is from December last year. They started, Dove created a Roblox game for girls ages 9 to 16, which they believe is going to challenge unrealistic beauty standards and build self-esteem in young women.
Sorry, but you're screwed if if it takes the video games to do that. Your parents didn't do their job.
They went to Roblox to do this, where everyone is a square.
Yeah, and I also have a controversial opinion that I don't think Roblox is a game, but that's just me.
Child labor.
Yeah.
Well, the games that they're referring
It's like-
to that women play are literally phone games.
And that's not a game.
Roblox is just child labor, just like Girl Scout cookies. It's just free
Literally,
labor from kids.
Yeah. And Minecraft too.
Yes, in a lot of ways.
They crave the mines.
Um,
The kids want to go back to the mines.
for the video game discussion is interesting because it's one that feels like it should be sectioned off from the mainstream, but video games are more mainstream than any of these things nowadays. More people play games than watch TV. That is for sure. We know that to be true. I want to know who you think's going to be the first to come back, because I'm like, I don't know if Zoe Quinn is going to come back first or Anita Sarkeesian.
They're going to feel
but-
like they're vindicated now.
yeah, and
This
what
is
is
like back in the conversation.
what does unrealistic beauty standards even mean if there was supposed to be some type of strict definition to it? Because it's amorphous. It doesn't actually have a definition. What does unrealistic mean? There are fitness models out there that are the peak of femininity and beauty, that it's not unrealistic because they look like that. But even they will talk about how, like, look, the ones who compete, like they talk about like how I look before a competition is not how I look during the rest of the year. But it still proves that what they look like during the rest of the year would still be considered unrealistic beauty standards by any of these people. That's when you hear the people say, where are her organs? Like as if being skinny is like an impossible thing.
Right.
It's like, no. It's not. You just don't want to be challenged, and you don't want anyone else to challenge you because you don't want to take responsibility for the fact that whether you like it or not, your health and your appearance is your responsibility.
Yeah.
I think a lot of I just don't want to discredit feeling like we've like kind of gone in the wrong direction as far as like the way that society views beauty and sex, because that's valid, but we're like misdirecting those criticisms at things that just don't matter. Like I think a lot of women are retreating from the expectations of femininity because femininity has now been warped into something it never was supposed to be. You know,
How do you think we get back to it then?
They're retreating by becoming ugly on purpose.
Yeah. It's why you
and
talked about
opting out entirely.
One of the things that you that blew my mind when you pointed it out to me was like you'd see these girls in Hollywood who'd been abused and bad things had happened to them, and they would shave their heads. And it was like they were making themselves ugly on purpose,
like Rose
as
McGowan,
like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, I was talking about this yesterday with my husband. Like, I think it's an actual defense mechanism, and I think for the most part, people that dress in this very outrageous manner, sure, you can have some people that actually like it. Like, I used to have a mohawk, but it's interesting. The reason that I initially got my mohawk is because I was depressed, and I literally had like a Britney Spears moment. I was like, let me just shave all of this off. So I think a lot of people fall into that, where it's like, it's something different. This will temporarily make me happy. And it's like, yeah, this is my shield. I look angry. Don't come near me.
Yeah, I call it like a trauma response or a defense mechanism of some sort, because it is that's like a known response to like being victimized in that way.
I just wonder how much of that is like look, this is still art. These are still people that are making games, and you're putting a lot of it's a lot of projection to say you're doing this for this reason. You're projecting unrealistic beauty standards. I don't know if it's fair to tell some dude who developed a video game character who made something of, when you build something from scratch, you create something. It's got to be a bit of a kick to hear people say you're doing it for this, and then they give you some social justice, identity politics laden reason that this guy's not thinking about, because the guy just wants to make a character that's cool looking, a guy that's cool and built, a girl that's beautiful and hot, and that is not inherently bad.
It's low effort activism. These people don't actually want any change. They just want to be affirmed in the way that they are, because if you really wanted to make a change to culture, you would do something about it. So, okay, instead of criticizing how someone else decides to make their game, make your own game.
Well, they do, and then they never does well, because they refuse to admit that sex sells and beautiful things will sell to people, because that's just the way the culture is, whether they like it or not. Beer companies made a lot of money off of beautiful women in their ads because it sells,
right?
And that's never going away.
We're gonna get more into this later, but I think we're like very desensitized to beauty as well these days because of the internet. You're just inundated constantly with not just beautiful women, just beautiful things in general, to an extent that no one in human history ever has been. Like, it would have been back in the day, you like lived in some remote village and you would see one woman who was a 10 out of 10 your whole life, basically. And now you can search that up and see millions of them in just one click.
There's a new video. Actually, I'm going to reference this and give this to people we're not going to watch it because it might be copyrighted. Do you know what the YouTube channel After School? They do the time
time capsules?
No, they do like
time lapses.
Time lapse art pieces while they do subject matter. They have one that just came out the other day that very much gets into this. It's called The Slow Poison of Endless Fantasy. I recommend after the show everyone go and check that out, because that's essentially what he talks about. It's a squire in a court, but he's got a magic. It's like a magic something that allows him to see. It's an analogy for your phone, for the endless content that you have on the internet. I recommend everyone go and watch that when this is done, because that's covering this exact.
I know it's like kind of
thing.
Boilerplate to point it out, but it's still worth talking about.
No, absolutely. That's the thing. The point of this is like that invites good discussion. Yeah. Like, what is our phone? Like, I still want to know about whether there's actually been any safety studies about whether the phone itself is safe. I don't buy for a second that we got 20 years worth of research that says that these things aren't going to nuke our brains in 20 years, right? Like, you don't just pick this thing up one day and be like, it's perfectly safe. Like, what could go wrong? It's perfectly reasonable to think that eventually these things will be very bad for us.
Are you talking about in terms of like the radiation or just the apps?
Yeah, no, both. I mean, I'm saying both. I'm saying there was definitely not enough time to study whether the phone itself was going to be safe for you. Because that
5G
was like
is frying our brain.
That was a boomer take, though. It's like, that phone's going to nuke your brain, Kenny. Like,
they were right.
But it's just in a different way. It's the constant. It's everything you look at on Instagram. It's everything you look. It's the rage you find on Twitter. It's the unattainable beauty that you find on Instagram. It's all of the news articles. It's everything. 20 years ago, you did not just constantly have your brain set to input mode, taking in information 24/7. You lived in the real world, and how you experience the real world is very different from how you experience these things.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of crazy that I'm like, you lived in a time when that wasn't.
yeah,
So weird,
Yeah.
man.
And I didn't.
I didn't
like.
have a
I
cell
don't know
phone.
anything else.
I didn't have a cell phone in high school.
You remember dial-up?
I had the dial-up at home with the loud connection sound. I have a friend who has that as his ringtone on his phone, is the dial-up internet connection sound. He goes, it reminds me of better times.
Yeah.
I was like, slower times maybe. I don't know about better. He's also got like, he would do art projects with AOL startup discs.
Okay.
He would make collages with AOL startup discs because he just loved. He loved.
I used to cover my bedroom wall as a teenager with AOL discs.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Yes. It's like, well, because you just go to the grocery store and they'd just be sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, it was like a little disco ball in the room.
Yeah, you would have loved it, Mary. You're a fan of the early 2000s. Of the early 2000s, you would have loved this time even more. I watched a really good. It's not good in the sense that it's actually supposed to do this, but it's like. It shows a girl. It's one of those things where it's like it's got the green screen background, and it's like you when you come home from school in 2004, and it's like you log into your MySpace, and it's like new messages, new blog comments, new friend requests, and I was like, it's just literally the moment everyone got addicted to dopamine and serotonin flooding their brains.
Yeah.
That's actually a point in the culture where we were probably on the downslope. Introduce your top 8 friends list. There's the division.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
I had thought about that. I think the top 8 list was the first indicator that the internet's going to be a problem. Because my friends were fighting over that.
Yep.
And why 8? Why 8, not 10?
I think it started out as 4, and Tom made it 8, and then it became 16.
Tom, damn you!
But I'll tell you, I think it was actually before that. I think there's a song by a country artist named Sam Hunt called "Breaking Up Was Easier in the '90s," and he's wrong, and I'll tell you why. He talks about how in the 90s you could fool yourself into thinking that she's not going out and doing something when now you know exactly what they're doing. But here's the problem. Back in the 90s, say you have a disagreement with your girlfriend, bam, there goes the melodramatic song lyrics on the away message. Are they about you? Are they not? You don't know, and the insecurity would haunt you for years. It would leave you extremely insecure, and you would read into it in a way that you did not know your brain could do gymnastics like that until you're like, that part of the song kind of fits the argument we were having. That one doesn't really, but how do I know? When in reality, was it actually about that? Maybe. If you had a sociopath girlfriend who really did it, I think I actually did. I had a girlfriend who Dane Cook called them mental ninjas. She was very much a mental ninja. It was, the uncertainty was worse. Was worse in a lot of ways. In that one, he's talking about, you could just fool yourself into not caring. I'm like, no, you cared.
Yeah,
you cared a lot. And that was a problem.
In the 90s, though, that's more the 2000s.
Away messages was
Right?
It was like
late
maybe
90s, early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. But even then, was it even any better when you had to, when there was no cell phones and it's like, you called her house, was she home? Maybe she just didn't answer. But at least back then you had to toughen up and actually talk to her dad on the phone first if you wanted to talk to her.
I had a boyfriend break up with me through AIM.
Oh man. See, that was a sign of things to come.
Brutal.
Of things to come. I guess is that better or worse than a voicemail?
Why? You got a voicemail?
No, I'm saying is that better or worse than a voicemail? Just ballpark.
I think it is better
than a voicemail. I also love those videos where it shows the people where it's me making my voicemail in 2000, and he's got the TV turned up really loud to a Ja Rule song, and then he turns it down, and he's like, "Hit me up later." Yeah. My brother had that exact thing. It wasn't a Ja Rule song, but it was he had that thing with song lyrics on his phone. Also, funny story, one of the meanest people, when all of the stuff came out about when people would talk about Donald Trump ruining friendships, and that coming from me, who was not a big Trump supporter, but just voted for him because tacitly supported foreign policy, I had a friend who just hated me after this. And he used to have a voicemail, and this is why I was getting a kick out of this. It was literally, do you know who Jacob Wetterling is?
No.
Jacob Wetterling was a boy who went missing in the state of Minnesota back in like the 80s, and he was never found. He was actually found like a couple years ago. His voicemail at that time was like, "Hi, I'm Jacob Wetterling. You don't know me because I went missing 10 years ago." I was like, this is like, you're no moral authority if you would act like, I was like, it was the 90s. This is actually the thing. This was his voicemail, and he like changed it later on, but it's like you're trying to tell me about
Everyone was edgy.
Yeah.
When it suited them, when it was convenient.
But then you grow up to be somebody who's unbelievably like soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
All right, we got some super chats
Yes.
there.
Albus Rooster Dude Dumbledore said, "What? I went on social media break for 2 months and you forgot currency of India.
But your name is different.
That's roughly $14. The exchange keeps changing. Say hi to my friends, a queen, a princess, and a witch. Thank you."
So, well, you're not a witch anymore, so I guess that makes me the
You're the queen?
am I the witch then in this? I guess I'm the witch. I'm in all black and I'm not religious, therefore I guess I'm the witch.
Oh yeah, we're matching a little bit.
Yeah.
Clint said, oh no, sorry, this is another one from Albus Rooster Dude Dumbledore. "We need a bit on the show. Brett and Mary read mean tweets." I was just thinking about this, but I didn't want to suggest it because I know that you don't like
I don't read the
reading
comments.
negative comments.
No,
I
I
find
like-
them funny.
I like the ones where it's the backhanded compliments where it's like, wow, the show wasn't awful today.
Yeah.
Like those are actually kind of funny because you can't tell whether the person's just kind of autistic or just being mean to you. Like some people, they don't realize they're saying something that's actually would be harmful. Like there are some people where they're like, wow, Brett wasn't insufferable today. I'm like, thanks. But in general, I don't read the comments just because I take responsibility for my own brain, and
That's good.
It's not going to do me any good. First of all, it's not going to get me to change how I do my job.
Yeah.
So it's like I've actually found it more interesting that it's easier to read what people think about my reviews, my opinions on art, because that's different than your opinions on like what people think your opinions are on social issues, because what your opinions are on social issues cuts to the core of who you are. Those are stink bugs. You get used to them. That's actually very few lately. And it's a lot harder to hear what people have to say about your takes on society.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot more about who you are than about just your opinions of artistic endeavors. So.
Grofty said, "Chickens in the house. Buck, buck, buck." Yeah, did you see the chicken coop
I did.
out there?
Adorable.
Pepe said, "More parties."
Yes, and we have had more since then.
Grofty said, "End of the work day is so much better with PCC. Buck, buck, buck."
See,
Is this actually a chicken?
I would love to have one of them up here for one of the shows.
Chicken?
Please no.
Yes,
Please
I
no.
would love to have Roberto Jr. up here with Bucko. Bucko here, Roberto Jr. here.
That would turn into a murder scene. Elijah Borgs said, "Do you have a non-cultural reason for being Catholic? It does warp scripture, such as praying to saints aspect. Famed reformer Martin Luther did humanity well, calling out the open deceit. No."
Thoughts?
I don't know what answers you expect asking these questions, these leading questions to a Catholic. It sounds more like you're trying to get some confirmation bias.
One more and then we'll move on.
Yeah, and this is not a show about religion, buddy. Ryan Cannell said, "Gothix is queen. So nice to see you on PCC. Hope to see you on Friday Night Tights again soon as well. Speaking of which, it's about that time. Have a good one, y'all."
That makes sense given that guy's name is Ryan Kennel, not Ryan Kennel.
Sorry.
All right, let's move on. Are you going to be back on Friday Night Tights anytime soon?
I would like to.
There you go. All right, let us move on, guys. Mary, tell us about Gabrielle Union and Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah, recently Priyanka Chopra went on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is notorious for telling women that they should be girl bosses, hide their slutty pasts from their boyfriends, and it started out as something much more raunchy than it is now, which is just like celebrities talking about their feelings, which I hate.
Fifis.
So she went on Call Her Daddy recently and talked about her relationship with Nick Jonas, and she said that she is an alpha type woman, and in her previous relationships she was not allowed to be an alpha, and men kind of held her down or made her into a doormat. So
Feels like there should be a middle ground there somewhere.
Yeah, I do too.
Just saying.
And also it's awkward looking at all of these pictures where she's towering over Nick Jonas.
So those high heels, man.
Yeah.
She got to get rid of those Christian Louboutins, otherwise this guy's going to have a problem later.
So about Nick Jonas, she said, he thrives on seeing me shine. He's most excited about the shows I'm doing. It's just like, come on, what was I thinking before? That's what you want. You want your man to be your champion. You don't want your man to be insecure by you or intimidated by you. I'm an alpha girl. I'm an ambitious girl, a go-getter, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Does she champion him, though? That's the real question. Does she do the same for him?
Well, she didn't say that she does.
Then it's clearly not important to her.
It sounds a little bit one-sided to me.
Yes.
And then I also wanted to point out that she went on Call Her Daddy after the same podcast talked mad shit about her and her relationship, but she wasn't aware of it, I guess.
I mean, to me, that's more of a, like, that's funnier on her part, because then she can be like, I don't even know. It's like the meme. It's like, you took everything from me.
Back in the day, back in the day, the same host said, Priyanka is a lesbian and Nick has big nipple syndrome. I want Priyanka to stop using him as her beard. They're constantly posting to prove to the world they're in love with each other, and it's disgusting and repulsive. Also called them ugly, said they wanted to punch them.
Calling Priyanka Chopra ugly is haram.
Yeah, she's definitely not. I don't really have an opinion on Nick Jonas, but
who does he got? Did the Jonas Brothers got big money still, or is that like do they?
I mean, the Jonas Brothers had a little bit of a comeback after.
Okay, but he's got money. He's like, it's not like he's tethered to her, like he needs her.
Maybe she wants to feel like that, and I think I wanted to point this out because there's a trend in Hollywood where women want to be perceived, at least, as the breadwinners, the alphas, and essentially wear the pants in their relationships because they're in an industry that essentially treats them like they are the boss of everyone.
Yeah.
And they call the shots in their industry. They're powerful. We were just talking about Sandra Bullock threatening to F up anyone less powerful than her on set who made her feel uncomfy.
Yep.
And it seems to me like they're projecting this message out to women who are not in that position.
Yeah, and it becomes a weird one because, like, this is gonna sound like I'm falling into the red pill sphere here, and I'm not.
Go for it.
But the idea is that, like, they're right that men of wealth and status will date a woman no matter. She does not need to make money. If anything,
Right.
they don't want her to work. Women aren't going to do that. Priyanka Chopra might date a Nick Jonas, but she has to find just the right level of less successful than her, because she's not dating a busboy. That's never going to happen. That's not a thing.
Right.
The closest you're going to get is like Dolly Parton, who's been married to a contractor for like 50 years, but he actively stays out of public limelight and isn't part of the, her public image, right? Like the average woman especially her level of fame, is going to date somebody of equal or more stature than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's this weird message that men should be attracted to you for your career.
And that's
which
stupid.
is something that can always be ripped away from you,
Right.
especially in Hollywood.
That's why like I said earlier, I think the big problem society is facing is sort of like this acceptance, and these women who proclaim to be like these boss babes. It's like you're only really doing this to be perceived. Like this lady saying I'm an alpha. Why do you have to say that to anyone? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And as you said, like, jobs can be taken away, your money can be taken away. So really all you're saying is that you're essentially a slave to the industry, your job.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why Me Too maybe happened in the first place, is because they were so tethered to their careers for their self-worth that a lot of mishaps and miscalculated bets happened based on that.
Also, guys at that time period, like, identifying with your job and having your career be this huge aspect of what it was very natural in human history to be a provider. That's what guys were seen as doing. It's just your job became that extension of your ability to provide, where back in the day it would be your ability to hunt and gather and provide, which was inherently masculine. And now it's like what is it now? Women are the majority of the people graduating from college. Women are the majority of the people that are succeeding these days. And there's a bit of a problem where they're like, and there's also been feminists who like admit they're like, I would never want to date a male feminist who it's because they know.
Or maybe they would never admit it.
So
but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Hollywood women, some of the wealthiest and most powerful women in society, are still the most neurotic people, like constantly plagued by worry of of losing it all.
Yeah.
And that's when I saw this clip of Gabrielle Union on an account called Black Millionaires.
And what they're doing to their child is a whole nother discussion.
That's her and Dwayne Wade.
That's a mess.
Very weird situation. So she said that in her relationship, they split bills 50-50, and she still has anxiety about being financially secure due to all of her responsibilities, which force her to be a workaholic. And she was just saying, like, there's constantly this, like, demon on her shoulder saying, like, you're not working hard enough, you're not doing enough, don't rest, don't sleep in, like, you better work.
Well, Kim Kardashian says that, and everyone loses their mind, and she's allowed to say it, right? Like,
I mean, Kim Kardashian is saying it for different reasons, I think.
I still think it's funny, though, that Kim Kardashian says it and everybody gets really mad at her. What she's saying is essentially the same thing. For Gabrielle Union, like, is that just a lack of trust in the relationship, or maybe it goes back to faith, a lack of faith that life is going to work out, so there's a neurotic need to keep pushing forward even though you've both been successful, and perhaps then the kids are the ones that suffer because maybe you don't need to be working 24/7. And again, it's fair to point out that what we're doing right now is we're Monday morning quarterbacking somebody else's life, and
she's putting it, but that she's putting it out there for people to see and judge. That's the thing. Like, if she never talked about it, it wouldn't be on this show right now.
Yeah.
You know? I really just don't appreciate when Hollywood women say that, like, make broad statements about how ordinary women should behave in their lives and their lifestyles. Because their circumstances just don't apply to 99.9% of people out there.
Yeah. It's like when COVID was happening and people were like, I'm just going to take a break for a while. I'm like, isn't that nice? To just, like, you know, it's like, oh, I wasn't working for a while. I'm like, must be nice to just take a break. Oprah doesn't leave the house for like 3 years, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did somebody stay in the house for 3 years? You look at her house, it's like the size of a city. You're like, oh, that's how.
It's also like,
it's got like an Amtrak to get from one side to the other, so of course.
This stuff isn't new. Like, it's been around since the 90s with, like, Destiny's Child.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jennifer Lopez's My Love Don't Cost a Thing is kind of setting up this ideal where none of your considerations are about being provided for or protected, but only because you are in a position that 99% of women will never be in.
Mm-hmm. And also,
most women's love does cost a thing. That's my point.
It's I think it also goes back to the fact that men have not been taught how to behave in a society as the role of women in society has evolved extensively in the last 20 to 30 years. Well, the men have been told, figure it out. Like, we don't really know what your new role in society is. As women enter the workforce, as women now increasingly take these higher level jobs, you can still work in the sewers. All that's fine. Women can be independent, but they never really, you know, women, you can be anything. You could be president one day. You could be this, you could be that. They never really told men how they were going to have to react to that, how that was going to affect the dynamics with the opposite sex in their relationships. And rightfully so, they're confused because they're told they're still supposed to be providers. You're still expected to pay on the first date. You're still expected to do all of the things that you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to
court
LARP
someone
as a provider, but not actually be one.
Yeah, because in a lot of ways, women have been, in my opinion, kind of scared crapless by things like The Handmaid's Tale and all of these things that don't actually represent a representative reality.
Yeah.
As we see it. So they're living in this world where it's not objective reality. It's not what's actually happening. They're worried that they're going to go back to a time where they're going to be expected to be barefoot in the kitchen with 3 kids. When that's, look, most couples, that's why a lot of these red pill podcasts shouldn't resonate necessarily with everyone's like, look, most households, both parties work anyways. It's not the norm anymore for one person in the house to work because most people need to have both incomes to survive anyways. And it hasn't caught up in our divorce court yet, whether we're talking about alimony in a lot of ways, which was created early on as a way to hedge against women who were did not have any skill sets, did not have any way to make money because they got married at a young age and didn't have any way of taking care of themselves. That's not the objective reality of relationships when relationships end now. You both leave the relationship with skill sets and the ability to provide yourself most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things because, as you said, like, why aren't guys being like informed on how to respond to all this boss girl stuff? And I think honestly, maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I look at it as like an effort to sort of like eventually break down the nuclear family. Because if you think about it, it's like the more a woman is devoted to her job and being an alpha lady, that means less time being at home, less of an interest wanting to have children, raise children, and stuff like that. And then if you like pair that with the fact that our culture doesn't really encourage people to wait to have sex when they're married and actually like be wise about who they get into a relationship with, it's like those two things working at once. Yeah, you're gonna have like high divorce, and then you're also gonna have women that are in love with their job as opposed to being in love with the family that they could potentially
and also
have.
like submitting to a boss instead of a man.
Yeah, you can't say that. Submit to my husband. No, the patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. But then you'll work for your boss that could fire you at any moment.
And I guess like you're in a unique position as well because you work for yourself.
Yes.
It also seems to break their brains when then they go on these podcasts, like whatever, and they're like, "What do you bring to the table?" Well, I got a great job. The guy's like, "I don't give a crap about your job." Like, I could literally not care less about your job.
One other thing that they say is I have so much sexual experience. That was another thing that came up on whatever when I was on, is like the guys at the table were like, we don't look for women with sexual experience. That's not something that guys care about. Maybe that's something that women care about, but that's up to you.
Yeah.
It's like such projection.
Yeah.
I also want to say too, like, yeah, I work for myself, and I think the other thing that our culture is lacking is thinking about how to get out of the grind if the grind is something that you don't want to do. Like, I used to work in customer service, and I was miserable. So I said, let me make an investment, let me save my money until I can afford to just be on my own and try the streaming out thing full time. And I think a lot of people are caught in this cycle where they're like, well, I have to work all these long hours, otherwise I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. Is there something else that you can do to sort of like invest towards getting out of that cycle instead of like, I almost feel as though, and I know this is a crude comparison, but I feel it's like how a lot of like these OnlyFans chicks fall into things. It's, oh, I'm making a lot of money. Is this the only way that you can make a lot of money? There's nothing else that you can contribute to society?
Right.
And let's face it, the OnlyFans thing has been proven in a lot of cases nowadays to be a bit of a mirage. Unless you're in that 0.01%, you're a SoundCloud rapper for women. You are. You're
I like that.
You're not making the 7-figure
Except
monthly
with less
income.
creativity.
And less homies to buy the album.
Yeah.
Like,
Gothix, how in your position have a lot of people asked you the question like, how do I start streaming? How do I start doing what you do?
Don't.
Yeah, like what do you tell them?
You know, I think, well, first of all, I think streaming, you have to have a spine for it. Like, obviously, I have learned, and a lot of people aren't equipped to handle that type of like, animosity from random people online. But I also, if I were to give like a serious answer, assuming they can handle that type of criticism, is you have to diversify your content. You can't just put all of your faith in one particular platform in the same way that all these boss girls, they say, oh, you know, I am a CEO of this company. Well, they can let you go. They can kick you out of there at any moment, just like YouTube can pull the plug whenever they want.
Also, real CEOs don't put CEO in their bio. Just saying. It's true. They don't. They don't. There's a $20 one right there.
From
Andy Leiterman.
Hey, Andy Leiterman.
And it's a big heart.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
buddy. And congratulations to you and Lydia.
On the baby.
Yes, on the baby.
Yeah.
And there's another one there from Darth Doza.
That one didn't come up for me yet.
It says, maybe I will read that one. It says, Darth Doza says, I'm not reading that, but if I were, I have never heard of Gothix before, but now I'm looking forward to finding out more. Love the show. Good weekend to Brett the Hitman and Mary the Red-Headed Anime Girl Slayer.
Oh gosh, I like that title.
Luckily, I was not named after Brett the Hitman Hart. I was named that because Bret Hart has one T in his name and mine has two. And as far as I'm concerned, one T is also haram. You should not be named Brett with one T. It's just Brent without the N. Mm-hmm. It's a problem. I was named after my brother got named after people that like went to war with my dad, and I got named after like sports people. So you know, it's good. It is
what it is.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot of women in the online space just don't have what you were saying, like the spine for the amount of pushback. And that's why I think a lot of the influencers or streamers just fall in line and have the approved opinion trademark on everything, and they simply don't have the guts to speak out when they have like privately held opinions that go against the mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of now I equate it to like any other job. You know, if you're working in corporate America, your boss can let you go at any time. And at that point, you have to find another job. So if you are a content creator and you sort of feel like you can't voice your opinion because you're afraid people are going to unsubscribe or what have you, it's like, it's sort of the same thing. You have to find your income at some point. So why not just go through the process, speak your opinion? Yeah, you lose subscribers, but then the turnaround of people finding your content that actually appreciate your speaking your mind, like why not go through that?
Right.
There's a $20 one right there. From Andy Leiterman again.
Miss you guys and the rest of the Castle crew. So cool seeing Gothix on PCC, and Graham Wilson in the chat. Can't wait to see the new piece. I don't know what this stands for. TQSH.
Oh, Trad Queen Story Hour.
Oh, Trad Queen Story Hour with Sour Patch Kids streams live every Monday through Friday at 7.
Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Also, I want to point out that the trad wife movement, the trad girl movement, is another offshoot of all of this, which is a product that is being sold to people if you're selling it to them on the internet that I am a trad. As soon as I see the floral dress, I'm like, that's a costume. That is not a you may dress like that, but you're amplifying an image to sell something to someone.
How different are you at the end of the day doing that from the OnlyFans chicks?
I like they get done. They're just like, oh my god, I hate this thing. It's so itchy. And they just take it off and they put on just like a regular shirt and jeans. They're like, my god, I freaking hate canning, and I don't like I don't like candles, and I don't like any of this crap.
I don't like homesteading,
and baking is stupid. It's like, but I say it fills a need. So like as men feel like culture has changed, it's pushed women into the workforce, and they're looking for some type of connection. Then come the women who are like, I'm here to connect with people in a traditional fashion. And sure, many of them, they're pushing ideas that are fine. They're good, but I'm weary of anyone selling me something on the internet via anything like that. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Let me read some super chats.
We got
here.
that. Let's do it.
James Orenthal went said, Kung Fu and Legend of Kane were my OG Nintendo jams.
Oh man, I need to go and I don't want to use an emulator, so I need to either buy new ones or see if I can. If I go home for 4th of July, maybe I'll bring them back. All my old systems. I need to play old Sega games. Streets of Rage.
Thank you.
What was your favorite game? Like, what did you go to after Nintendo?
I don't know how you guys can talk over this.
You learn.
We're just so casual about it.
After Nintendo,
you get used to it.
I had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation. So Super Nintendo, I had Street Fighter. I don't even remember, honestly. N64.
Love it. That's the one I play N64 more than any other system of the vintage systems that I play.
I'm mad because I gave mine away like an idiot.
You can still find them for reasonable prices online.
This was years ago.
It's still my favorite controller of all time too.
I always found that the little analog in the middle, I don't think it actually did any. Like I never used it.
The actual
it's just
stick.
weird.
It would also it would start to depending on how long you had it, they would lag for a certain period of time. Certain games required you to use it and stuff like that, but I was a big fan. I mean, to be fair, that's the age where GoldenEye had come out, Turok had come out, and all of these games that were just. But I was a Sega person before that, so I had Sega.
I never had Sega.
I had Dreamcast. I had Sega. My brother had a Nintendo. But yeah, good times. I missed the vintage video games.
C2 Gaming said, if you liked Blades of Steel, check this new game called Tape to Tape. It's a hockey roguelite.
Nice. Yes, Blades of Steel I can literally still hear that theme song from that game in my head right now, and it's going to be stuck there all day. It's going to be horrible. Tonight I'm going to be like, dun, 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 dun.
Savrik said, the more beautiful, magnetic, and talented the celebrities are, the more the public masses will submit to their philanthropy and cultural trends. Keep up the good work. G is... Wait, what is it?
She's G.
But what is this? It's like a light bulb.
I'm looking for
Minded, by the way.
I'm scrolling back up. I'm looking
I don't
for
know.
a place.
I think it's a compliment. Angel Delgado said the children yearn for the mines.
they do.
It's so true.
They do.
They don't want you to know this. Potatoes for Seamus said Baba Booey, happy Monday, Baba Booey.
That's my ringtone.
It is.
Yeah.
Mine is Kim Possible.
Oh, I love that.
You guys have ringtones?
Oh, a text tone. Sorry.
Text. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
My phone is mute all the time. Like
Mine is almost always as well.
Mine, like the ability to see your text is dependent heavily on whether my phone is facing me or not, because I don't want any type of noise or sound effect or buzzing or anything. Because I get enough of the thing where my leg, like where you feel like your phone goes, the phantom vibration in your leg where you feel like your phone went off and it didn't. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah.
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 Fan.
I try not to keep mine on silent because I feel like I'll just leave it there and never respond to people.
That's what I
That's
do.
a beautiful thing. Mary,
I'm that person.
Mary will just leave her phone up here like a psychopath and then go downstairs and spend an hour and not need to use it. And that's
shade, though.
That's amazing.
Sometimes I just need to, see the sunlight.
That's good. That's good.
There are no windows in the studio. Seven Redding said, can't confirm Whataburger is the best. Get one if you guys ever come back to Texas.
There you go.
Yeah, I would like to.
Let's do one more and then
Carnell.
let's get to Grimes.
Yes. Carnell said, just wanted to say hi to the crew. Sup, Brett. Hi, Mary. Hey, Gothix. And shout out to all the fellow Crisis actors. Have a great weekend to all.
And thank you, my friend, and
Thank
have a good
you.
weekend. We got one more here today, guys. We're running
Yes.
long today, but that's all right. It's Friday. We
Yes.
got time.
Grimes went on Julia Fox's podcast Forbidden Fruits recently, and they talked about tech and art and all of that. But one thing they talked about is beauty standards being influenced by technology now. And
You just know Julia Fox is so excited. She's like, this sounds so deep. We sound so intellectual.
it's
right
interesting
now."
because Julia Fox the rest of the time just wants to complain about men.
Yeah,
But
it's kind of a vibe.
it's interesting because when you look at these women in the clip, they are the definition of what is considered hip to look like on social media.
Yeah.
And not in real life.
Her podcast really should be called The Bechdel Test. She should change the name of her podcast.
It never passes.
It would never pass.
Passes. But let's look at this this clip of them talking about
The
beauty
first one,
standards.
the one from Forbidden Fruits.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, guys.
The way that a lot of
It's just her in a Reba
You
wig.
can see it over here. You can see it over here.
I'm
She looks absolutely. I mean,
And
I
Julia Fox, by the way, is someone who has talked numerous times about looking ugly on purpose, which is something we also touched on.
Yeah.
She said that she shaved her eyebrows specifically because she knows men hate that and find it unappealing.
That's too
Interesting choice,
That's
right?
stupid.
Right. Yeah.
I just look at her and well, at least we got some redheaded representation.
And she
back,
also
so that's good.
is someone she used to
We can't erase
fit-
all of them.
She used to fit a lot of more conventional beauty standards until then. She's gotten liposuction all over her body and now is just a fashion ragdoll, basically.
I love the condom clothes she was wearing.
She was wearing an entire outfit made of condoms
Nuh-uh.
recently.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Boots that were just condoms.
Okay.
It's disgusting.
All right, play the clip.
Here we go.
a lot of celebrities Photoshop their images, and then these girls just have such unrealistic expectations because they're like, why can't I look like that? And it's like, boo, they don't even look like that. you
I feel like the
know?
idea that the average person is a 10 now is maybe very oppressive if you're a kid right now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a concerning development.
Yeah.
I think this might be one of the most irresponsible things that tech is doing right now is allowing this stuff to exist.
Totally.
What about the
I
beauty
really
standard
agree.
of?
It's demonic.
What about the beauty standard of painting your eyebrows in a way that's so actually not natural that maybe they're like, I just want my eyebrows to look like that and I just don't know how to do it. Is that unrealistic beauty standards?
Grimes is going to go back to her baby daddy Elon and tell him to censor photoshopped photos
There you
on
go.
Twitter.
She says, I agree. That's really demonic. Let me just go back.
It's demonic.
It's really demonic. It's demonic.
So, okay. I just want to ask you as an online personality, do you feel like this is an actual issue? Do you feel like there's an expectation for you to look a certain way because you're a public figure?
No, not at all. I don't think this is actually an issue. And like I said, I think the root of this is seeking acceptance from the world, and I don't. So people can criticize me. I get criticism all the time because of my haircut. Like they think I'm a crazy person until I start opening my mouth and saying something different. But it's like I don't seek that acceptance, so I really couldn't care if people make assumptions about me, or you know what I mean? Like I don't desire that.
You can't lose a game that you never started playing to begin with.
And the thing is like these girls on this podcast are just complaining. And honestly, if you really wanted to change, see change in culture, don't give it any attention. Like learn to not be so adamant about seeking acceptance from people. Who cares what people say? You're going to get that anyway. You're a celebrity.
Yeah, and even if you're not, like Julia Fox would say, catering to the male gaze, you're going to be catering to the male gaze, gays. She is catering to gay men, essentially, with how she looks.
Oof.
Is that not the case? She lives up to a beauty standard of some kind.
Yeah.
It's inescapable.
Yeah.
Whether it's the one that straight men want you to fit, or whether it's what women on the internet want you to fit, like you're still living up to their expectations. Instead of setting your own standard.
It's like you said it earlier, where women are deliberately making themselves look ugly. It's like, okay, so you've rejected this invisible beauty standard, but now you've essentially joined another beauty standard, which is just ugly.
Yeah. They're still like living by the reactions of men.
Right.
They're still letting their lives and decisions be controlled by men, just in a different light.
Yep.
And I don't think that that's feminist or empowering.
It's certainly a lack of self-confidence and a lack of the ability to feel comfortable in your own skin, which is something that can't be, you can't force something like that. It has to be learned either from a young age or with it takes a lot of work to get back there if you've gotten away from that.
I think I would classify that as true body positivity, where you're comfortable in the way that you are and you don't need to publicize it to the entire world and demand that people look at you in the way that you perceive yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also, they talked about cancel culture a little bit, and I did want to hear your reaction to it, because Grimes has this public image of a pop star that is, I guess, more subversive, because she's pictured reading Marx or whatever. Like she has these like communist ideals, but she has also been criticized for not living up to them because she, of course, like dated a tech billionaire. Mm-hmm. She said, "I'm very easy to cancel and canceled very often. I've always been exceptionally canceled. People call me a techno-fascist. I agree a lot of things have been mishandled and we're in a giant hiccup into a different part of civilization that is completely unprecedented. I say a lot of dumb stuff, above average, I'd say." Okay, maybe they're true. But we need better discourse. I wish people would approach me in better faith. I approach everyone in good faith. If people are being hateful on the internet, those people are mad because they want a better world. Is that the case?
I think people being mad on the internet, they can just be jerks, but I do agree with her to the point that we should be able to have better discourse, and you going online and screaming at someone, regardless if you think that you're in the right, that you're not going to be able to convey your point anyway. You just seem like a crazy person. So I agree with her in that sense, but it's also like I'm not gonna wait around and expect people to do that because you're a public figure.
She's literally courted an audience of militant communist tankies who LARP on the internet, and is wondering why people don't approach her in good faith.
Yeah,
and why they police her political stances and her personal life to fit a certain standard that. It's insane that, like, it's just like we were talking about with J.K. Rowling. Like, once you've courted a certain audience, which J.K. Rowling courted this audience of people who are obsessed with social justice for so long, they're gonna turn on you. Mm-hmm. Eventually, it's inevitable. Once you don't, fall in lockstep.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of what's going on right now when it comes to fandoms, is that there's this unattainable level of, like, you're supposed to conform to everything that group wants, and obviously you can never make everyone happy. That's not going to be a thing. It should be introduced early on that what you want is to be able to agree to disagree with the people, even within your fan base, even within your circle of friends, because if all you're doing is expecting the person that you follow or the people that follow you to hold the same beliefs as you, you're basically on a collision course to eventually something going wrong.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing that right now with Taylor Swift and her boyfriend guy.
Yeah, she has this new relationship with a guy who is problematic and has said a lot of offensive things.
Imagine
and now
being
her
mad at-
fans.
What does that even mean?
Imagine being mad at Taylor Swift for bad dating choices of all things now, rather
Right,
than
exactly.
like 20 years ago.
What he has said or done is totally irrelevant. But Taylor Swift has made it a point to become politically outspoken for several years now, and has now courted this leftist audience that expects certain standards of behavior from her in that way. So you're playing with fire. Like, she was engaging with the risk of becoming politically outspoken, and it was like, oh, well, you're going to lose all of your right-wing fans. That's not the risk that she was taking. The risk she was taking is she was playing with fire. When you become politically outspoken, then it's the leftist fans who are going to turn on you. It's not the right-wing fans who have turned on her.
I'm just picturing like a guy with like a Gadsden flag, like behind him, like chopping wood to "You Belong with Me." And he's just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right, like, as if she had some like contingent of like MAGA-tard fans or something that she never had in the first place. But like, I don't really feel bad for people that like court this audience.
Yeah. She also, Julia Fox is on Amber Heard's side. I saw that.
Yeah, we've got a few other clips to react to from this podcast. Julia Fox has some interesting
controversial
takes.
thing
Interesting
that you
guests.
have done is publicly, very openly from day one defend Amber Heard, which when you first did that, I was like, oh no.
She looks nuts.
Yes.
She looks like she would throw your clothes out the second floor of your apartment and scream at you.
When someone shows you
Actually, I'm not even
who they are, believe them.
Yeah, as they say.
been joking. Everyone on my team called me and was like, stop. And I was like, I can't. Just hearing.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, pause. She literally has a shirt on with a man crossed out.
Look at
Like
that.
this is your principled stance.
I wonder if her, Amber Heard, and Mia Khalifa with the dog thing, they could all get together and start a club.
The dog thing.
The
being
dog,
like,
the mask, and the like. Her, Amber Heard, they're kind of in the same boat in a way.
Yeah.
All right.
The recordings of him and the things he would say to her and stuff, it just reminded me so much of just a typical narcissist guy that I've been in relationships with like so many times.
Think she is like throwing bottles at those guys' heads and then mocked them after she punched them and said, "I'm not punching you, I'm hitting you."
This is a
Freaking psychopath.
some heavy projection here.
Just different man, same situation.
Different man, same situation.
Of course, and she knows Amber Heard personally.
All of your ex-boyfriends are Johnny Depp.
Yes, that's what it is.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, what?
Like you did. Like, well, it's the
This
same.
is
Like,
the thing. It's all the feminists who say they're so attracted to these toxic, narcissistic, misogynist men.
and just
I don't think this is the experience of ordinary women.
It's also the same thing with Taylor Swift. It's like at a certain point, maybe there should be at least a couple of songs that say, maybe I'm the problem.
She had one admission of guilt in her entire career.
Well, given
Taylor Lautner.
how many bad relationships she's had, maybe a couple of songs that say, hey, a little bit of introspection might be a good thing. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
And then we have this other clip where they're talking about Trump getting reelected.
Oh, yes. I forgot about this.
Going to be reelected.
Well, that's a good question because he is Gemini.
What?
And Jupiter, the giver of gifts and luck, makes its rare once in 12-year appearance in 24.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What are we going...
Maybe that luck will be for him not going to jail.
Yeah.
Oh, thank gosh. I was so worried for a second there.
It's very true. It's very true. It could be something like that.
Yeah.
I think we're ready for something fresh and new.
Yeah, we need some young people in the White House. We need representation.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It gets worse.
These old white men. Nobody has anything in common with them. They have no idea what the real world is like. They've been living in their bubbles, shielded from reality for so long. How can they accurately identify
Lead our
our
country.
needs and lead our, like, they're so out of touch.
It's
and we know,
crazy.
like,
This is not a real podcast.
Yeah.
I refuse.
Julia Fox, she is totally not in her own isolated cultural bubble.
She's
in touch with where the culture is.
She's got her
right now.
finger on the pulse.
Her
of the
finger is on the
culture.
pulse of the culture.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Hopefully the culture doesn't blow up with her brother. Like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Like that is that Dunning-Kruger? Would that be Dunning-Kruger here, where like she doesn't realize like, I just
To think that Hollywood isn't an isolated bubble in and of itself,
Yeah.
Right.
that shields you from reality.
I mean, and everyone is in a way in their own bubble of sorts, right? Like the life you lead is not going to be the life that someone else is going to lead, and everyone should be aware of that somewhat. But it's just kind of silly hearing them describe it that way.
Yeah.
I love
The
it.
astrology thing, that always cracks me
As
up.
a former Wiccan, what are your beliefs about astrology now, I guess?
Like, obviously, I believe in stars. You know, I see them. But as far as like, you know,
They exist.
You know, they exist. They're a thing. But as far as like, what's your sign, and then using your sign as a way to explain your behavior or your outlook on life, that's essentially like, I would equate that to social justice, where instead of taking ownership or self-reflecting, you blame it on something else. Oh, it's because Mercury is in retrograde. That's why I'm a jerk right now.
Yeah, it also sounds like a cope, like wanting to control the world around you when you have no control. That's like, I think what a lot of the witch talk stuff and the astrology stuff is about, is like wanting to exert control over other people.
Mm-hmm.
When a woman backs up and hits a fire hydrant and says, "Whoops, it's because I'm a Capri Sun."
Yeah, it's also like kind of exploiting women's natural inclination to, like, I don't know, analyze people's social behaviors and like gossip essentially, but in a harmless way, and then like overstating it to this like cosmic importance, and then also like giving people what they think are the tools to curse someone or bless them with something, like that you're a god,
right?
Basically, and other people are laughing at it, but these like witches, these so-called witches online, actually do believe that this is real.
Yeah, I mean, I believed it for a while.
I think like this is like controversial, but I think some witchcraft is real, has real effects in the world, but that it's not for us to play with, simply.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think we should be playing with it at all. I don't think, and if someone tries to do a spell, I don't think it's them doing anything.
Can you give me an example of how, like where you say you think some of it's real? Like, can you give me an example?
I mean, I'm not like an expert on any of it, but like when people commune with demons, demons can use their permission to mess with people. I mean, demons aren't allowed to do anything that they're not allowed to do, you know?
Is that why vampires aren't allowed to come in unless you invite them in?
Well, I haven't met one, but
I've heard. You're not allowed. A vampire can't come in unless you invite them in.
I feel like the response to all of the witch talk nonsense isn't just to call it nonsense. Like, I don't know, have some...
No, I do believe that you can, like, there is magic. Like, I do believe in that. I believe in a spiritual realm and things of that nature. But I think the biggest thing that people don't want to consider, it's like, okay, if you call yourself a witch and you're going to do all these spells, you think that what you're doing is you're manifesting something. But really, you don't know who's on the other side of that.
Yeah.
It's like you're answering the phone, but you don't really know who you're talking to.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think that it should be treated with a little more seriousness, but also like it's such a mistake to like frame this as like a community that you belong to, and also like something that you can consume by like buying products on Etsy.
It's always Etsy too.
Yeah.
It's always
like
Etsy.
buying crystals and thinking that they exert power.
But as like even just like that, I can literally go into like Walmart and find like witchcraft stuff. I can go into whatever
it's
store.
Everywhere
it's
now.
everywhere.
That's somehow
that
even
new?
creepier.
Is that new? Because I never saw tarot card decks at Barnes and Noble in the 2000s.
It was a slow-
I see it
slow
now,
drip,
all
I
over the
think.
place.
That's somehow even more depressing. Like, you don't just got like witchcraft, you've got Walmart witchcraft, and that
Yeah.
somehow feels like capitalist witchcraft at its.
Yeah, it's literally that.
But you know what? That tells me that there are people that are seeking to fill some type of a spiritual hole, but without the commitment.
True. Yeah. It's like it's woke capitalism, but Wiccan capitalism.
I want to get Donald Trump out of office, but I don't want to campaign against him. I'm just gonna.
You want the
get
easy
some
way out.
Yeah. Now you're not president, guy.
You want the easy way out that doesn't require anything from you.
And you know, there's at least one Wiccan out there who's like, I did that. Like, I cast a
When he
spell.
got arrested, they were like, it's because I hexed Trump.
Yeah, that's what they're like. And then
They
and then,
did put hexes on Trump.
And then after that, then like a couple of like mail-in voting places were like, actually, like, oh, I'm kidding, YouTube, don't ban us. It was a joke. I was kidding. All right, guys. Before we do the last of the super chats, I want to say, would you please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? So thank you very much. Also, I've got Cute of the Day, and we've got Cringe of the Day.
That totally passed my mind.
Yeah. So first we are going to do Cute of the Day. I'm going to show everyone a couple of animals here, some adorable animals. This is Bandit, aka the Bandalorian, Blue Heeler Mix, 7 months old. He's kind of a butthole. Oh my God, there's somebody else using that term.
Whoa.
That's amazing. Maybe he went and saw the movie too. But we love him. This is from Joshua Denelsbeck on Twitter. So thank you. That is a good-looking boy right there.
I like when people give their pets like passive-aggressive compliments.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of them too. They're like, he kind of eats all the food.
Someone
but he's
like sent in their cat and was like, she's fat and annoying, but I love her.
All right. Here we. Oh wow, that's a good-looking dog
Majestic.
right there. There it is. My boy Chewy. He's a diva.
Is that another Star Wars reference?
Chewy, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, then let's do one more here. This is my chocolate lab. She's the bane of my existence, but super cute. They're all doing it.
Why are they all doing it now?
But super cute. Carries her little squirrels to bed. Oh.
Oh, okay. I almost thought you meant real squirrels. I love how like sometimes cats will bring you a present.
Oh, Bokus would bring mice constantly and be like, look
he's
at this
out
mouse
there.
I killed.
He's out there hunting, providing for the whole castle.
And he's like, why doesn't nobody respect
anyone
me?
appreciating me?
Yeah, we'll do one more here, guys. This was such a chaotic
How do you
photo.
get them all in one photo?
I don't know, man. This is from
That must have taken a lot of effort.
M. Kessel on Twitter, so thank you. In the previous one there, I wanted to give credit. That's from Laura Samples on Twitter, so thank you guys for that. But we also have Cringe of the Day. We've got a couple of here.
What would Cute of the Day be without Cringe?
Cringe of the Day. First, let's watch Elon Musk. Shall we?
He's vibing in a nightclub in Cabo. People were making fun of him for his dancing skills.
Dancing should
You're
be...
able to tell who it is, though.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell from the side here.
Oh, no!
I'm here for it.
Does
He's
anyone
having
there
fun.
know who he is?
Yes!
Put your hands up.
Dude!
Wow. I don't know. I think he's dancing.
I like it.
Normally.
This is feel good to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's
You called him he's unapologetically a dad bod.
Yeah, he leans into it. Like I said, because like when Bezos just looks like he's full of HGH, and he's got a lot of self-esteem issues.
True.
In Musk's like, I'm saving the world here, dude. I don't got time for that.
Let that
like
sink in.
I'm busy. Yeah, exactly. That was like the one I pointed at. I'm like, when he carried that sink into Twitter, it looked like it was straining his arms a little bit. Like he looked like he's like, ugh.
You got to do it for the meme.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we got one more here.
This one's bad. Oh.
How short is too short in a guy?
I'm from Queens. We do it a little different out here. Anything under 6'3" is a dub.
A dub.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
How tall are you?
Me? 5'6".
How tall are you?
5'6". 5'6".
How tall do you think I am?
You're not that much taller than me. Like 5'7".
Huh?
Like 5'7". Maybe 5'6" too. I don't know.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so look, I'm gonna shoot my shot like I'm Devin Booker. Can I bag you?
Negative.
Why not?
Because.
Look at all of
Handle
this.
Fuck out of here.
You serious?
He's joking, right?
How short is
Brutal. brutal.
It's not as good as. Did you ever see?
He's definitely over 6 foot, though.
Did you ever see the one where the girls like they have to be a certain height, and the guy's like, "How tall do you think I am?" And she goes, She goes like, "How tall are you?" She goes, "I'm 5'7" or 5'5", and he goes, "How tall do you think I am?" She goes, "I don't know, 5'4", and he's taller than her.
Yeah, women's perception of like male height is very warped these days.
It's the dating apps.
Strange.
Yeah.
A guy will be literally 6 inches or more taller, and they'll think it's like 2.
It's the dating apps. They had to take height off the thing because all the women were putting like 6'5".
Yeah. Anything
and
under
they're like,
6'3" is a dub.
So they're like, you do understand that like that's like less than 1% of the population or something that's over a certain height or something like that. So
Probably just to not face rejection from other guys.
Yeah. And it's also weird too because guys don't have a movement of beauty standards or whatever. It's like it's the women. It's like you can't criticize their beauty standards though.
The height is something you can't control. The weight you can.
Well, there's this amazing video where it says like it's girls who they put I've told you this before. They take a ruler and they put it on their door and they're saying measuring all the men who swipe right or swipe on us on Hinge or whatever. And then you see a guy just drops a scale in front of the door.
That's great.
Imagine if you had to put your weight into a dating app.
It would and that's
that would
why
change the game.
Yeah, it's
For real.
it's one of those things where like I think dating apps have kind of screwed the population in a lot of ways because like their perceptions are warped of all of that, and all that type of connection early on is very, very superficial anyway. So we got some super chats at the end there, Mary. Let's do it.
Michael Williams said, Gothix, good to see you here. Found you via Ruined Leon. Loved your content. Congrats on finding God. Also, Mary, thank you for going on whatever and being your based self. Love you guys. Thank you.
Everybody needs a little bit more. They need more people like you on that podcast to set the women straight.
They've been like
the wagging finger,
diversifying the opinions on that show.
The guy's like the poor host, just like I need some help here.
Yeah.
Holy crap, I
He
can't do this
it
all
on his
myself.
own.
He's like I'm but one man.
Yes. Elijah Borgs said, difference between OnlyFans and SoundCloud is the former profits off of an objective evil, which is lust. It's not dissimilar from drug dealing. Any objections with lust being evil, any of you? I don't object to that.
I don't object.
I think Brett's point was just that, you know, for most of the women joining OnlyFans, it's not going to turn into some kind of wealth empire. Usually it fails.
And I'm going to sidestep your question and say, well, what about music that glorifies drug dealing? Is that okay? Is he allowed to make? Because look, I grew up loving like everything I listened to grew up was about drug dealing and committing crimes because I was from, you know, when you're a white dude from the suburbs,
straight, do crimes.
Yeah, basically, you know, you grew up listening to Spice One or Bone Thugs and Harmony or Tupac or anything like that, and it's very clearly a product that was being sold you, a product that was the actual lives of a lot of these people, but it was being sold as a marketable thing for somebody like me to buy, even though it has nothing to do with my lived experience. Is he allowed to sell that? Is that more evil than selling lust? I don't know.
Dr. Certifiable said, regarding rejecting beauty standards, my music professor said that writing music that breaks all the rules is the other side of the same coin as pop music. Wait, I don't really get the point.
So it says
pop music follows very set like formulas to be marketable. Yeah. 1,000 Foot Derp End said, I can't tell if this is formerly like Johnny Derp or 1,000 Foot Deep End. Chick in heavy makeup is saying old white men are out of touch with reality. Full points for irony.
The best part is that she didn't understand she doesn't see the irony, and that's almost the saddest part.
Yeah.
Like there should be a point where she's saying that thing where she's like, wow, I am full of it right here.
Yeah.
But,
that's why conversations like whatever is good because she's in a bubble. She don't even realize it.
Yep.
Grofty said, Bandit is cute. Yes, he is. Luis Aguilar said, there's a household in the family in which the younger people used the Ouija board. All the people adjacent to that have been cursed since. Ooh. Yeah, I believe that.
Is that why we get so many horror movies like that around these haunted houses
We've
and stuff like that?
Debated about that before. Like, how much stock do people put in the aesthetics of a horror movie, and why is it always like religious themes?
Yeah.
In a lot of these.
I saw an article talking about how bad the Pope's Exorcist was today.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Well.
And it had the potential to actually be interesting if they stuck to the reality instead of dramatizing it and making it into a Marvel movie, basically. Then I would have been like all about it.
Yeah.
James Orenthal-Wen said, Elon used to be a Burning Man regular, so he vibes.
All right.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Is that true? And now I'm like loving the idea of him encountering Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos at Burning Man.
Yep.
Why is it that tech billionaires love like Burning Man, and then like the
Dorsey loves.
Then the tech serfs all go to Coachella.
Well, the tech serfs can afford Coachella. The tech billionaires can afford.
Burning Man is like
Burning Man.
$20,000 a ticket.
That's ridiculous.
Unless you're invited, I think, by someone who has a ticket.
It's and the funny thing was, I was watching an old episode of the show Suits, and they were talking about in the episode, Harvey Specter's characters, like every Friday night he like takes out like a different classic or expensive car because he lives in New York, so there's not really a reason to take a car everywhere you go. He takes a car service most days. He's like, I want to take out the Tesla tonight. I'm like, now Teslas are the most like, they're just very common, and at that time they weren't. Was Elon always in charge of Tesla? Was that his company from the start, or did he take Tesla over?
Sure.
I don't know.
I think he actually is the founder.
I'm sure somebody in the chat's
co-founder,
like, how dare you not know that? But
some Elon Musk expert can fact check us. Luis Aguilar said they're either dead, addicted to drugs, or in jail. No idea the context here.
But probably.
Whoever it was.
Andy Leiterman, I hope they're not.
No.
I hope they're in better shape than
Andy
that.
Leiterman said abortion after 12 weeks is now illegal in Nebraska. Okay, let's go. And also TikTok is banned in Montana.
That is true. So like, see, if there's a state you don't want to just randomly walk into someone's house in to do a TikTok challenge, it would be Texas or Montana or any state like that. You just don't want to do that. You don't want to just walk in and see what happens.
No. James Orenthal-Wen said pharmakeia is magic, so drug dealers are magic casters.
Wouldn't that just make them potion masters? So like there's a term like what's the term for that?
Wait, what?
Elixir potions. There's a term for that.
What you talking about?
What?
Never mind. I'll think of it later. It'll come and I'll think of it later.
You'll think of it later and like
text you and be like, that's what I was talking about there.
like,
but I mean, in a lot of ways, that all they are is they're just people that are making potions, right? They're not.
At the end of the day, yeah.
They're not pharmacists. They're back room pharmacists. There's one more.
This one's from 1000-Foot Derp End. It's Johnny Derp. That is all.
All right.
Got
Perfect. All right, guys. Again, like this video, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Gothix, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. Had a blast.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube and Rumble. Look up Gothix TV. And if you want more info on the Gothix documentary, go to lore.tv for more info.
Perfect. Mary, where can they find you?
Yes, you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived or send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived.
Grofty is right. Alchemist. That is the term that I was looking for.
Okay.
See, I'm not nuts.
That makes sense.
You're not nuts.
I'm not nuts. I knew there was a word
Potion
for it.
maker.
You do this long enough. Eventually, like there are days where I do have the fear where the words don't come to you, man, and you just sit here and you look stupid because you're live and you're like, look, hi, I look dumb. Happens all the time. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Pop Culture Crisis is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. And if you would like to listen rather than watch, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show. There is a $20 one right there, Mary.
From James Beasley, he said, I bought 2 Wiccan books back in 2002 and immediately had something weird happen with them. I left them in a car for 10 minutes with the window down, went out to get them and found the bag shredded with teeth marks on the book.
There's this story.
No way.
I left the camera on me that time. I just screwed that up. There's this great meme where it's like this guy, like he like tricked his mom into thinking this book was cursed and she like threw it away like into the ocean. He went out, bought another one, got it wet, and like put it back in her
messed
room.
up.
Bruh. That's sick.
That's fucked up, dude. Okay, guys. At popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Don't do that to anybody you love. That is mean. Do not do that. It's not nice to do stuff like that. We'll be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.